Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 434. I am Peter and joining me as always is Matt.
Kaboom!
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the DC books we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Action Comics 1076, Wonder Woman 15, Batman Superman World's Finest 33, Batman and Robin Year 1 Issue 2, The Question All Along the Watchtower Issue 1, Jenny Sparks Issue 4, Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter Issue 5, and Batman Full Moon Issue 2. Plus, I got a Patreon book. I'll be talking about Batman and the Outsiders Issue 19. It's a Christmas issue, which is almost at the right time of year.
Almost,
just 1 month off. Oh well, that's what right. It is.
We are, edging closer. So,
aye. So yes, welcome everyone. It's the show. Yes, we'll get into things. We both ended up not reading Titans after saying it was kind of on the chopping block. When we were looking ahead, so unsurprising, but hey, that's what it is. Lots of competition right now. DC putting out a lot of books, a lot of new books, and we'll get into all that. Before we start anything though, Matt, how was your week?
It was good. I managed to watch the first 4 Karate Kid movies this week because I'm trying to get caught up so I can watch Cobra Kai because one of my favorite wrestlers ended up on this season. So I gotta go check it out. Yeah.
Isn't it the final season?
I think so. So,
okay.
But I watched 1 through the next Karate Kid. I have the Jackie Chan version, but I might just jump into Cobra Kai this week.
I'm fairly certain you probably could have skipped the next Karate Kid as well.
Yeah, I could have, but I hadn't watched it since I was a kid, right? And it's about as bad as 3. It's not good. At least 3 has Terry Silver, and there's, he's like evil Batman, doing things.
I remember 2 being way more boring than 3. It's been a long time though.
I like 2, but I don't think I liked 2 as a kid. I'd seen 2 as a kid. Didn't like it as much, but as an adult, I kind of enjoyed, Miyagi and his backstory and going to Okinawa and that type of stuff. And there's a hurricane and Mr. Miyagi breaks a board to save somebody after he tells Daniel-san that you'll never have to learn how to break a board, and of course it comes around very, very, very 80s, which I also forgot that the director of The Karate Kid is the same director of Rocky and Rocky 5.
Same composer as well.
Yeah, look at that. So yeah, but for the most part, they're fun. Pat Morita's very good in all of them. From 1 through 4, he's probably the best part of 4. Yeah, 3 gets very silly with them climbing rock faces to get to bonsai trees and But yeah, so I'm gonna start Cobra Kai. I know they're doing that Legacy. I think it's for Netflix, where they're gonna merge Daniel-san and Jackie Chan's character and
they
Jaden
are.
Smith.
But from what admittedly, I just saw this in passing.
Yes.
I am by no means an expert. I think Cobra Kai's not canon in this new movie.
Oh Jesus!
So it's Daniel from the movie, but they're kind of ignoring Cobra Kai's existence to merge the 2 movies.
Because I had heard that it took place 3 years after Cobra Kai ends.
No, I could be right. I saw it in passing, so I might have misinterpreted something or not read it properly.
Yeah.
But that was the vibe I got from one source at least.
Rewatching, I've seen the first one probably more than any of the other ones, and it still holds
of course, it's the only one worth watching.
Well, no, that's what I mean. But when it was on TV when I was a kid, I would constantly watch it. But this is the first time I sat down to watch it as an adult, all the way through, and it still holds up so incredibly well. And it feels like a piece from the 80s, but not dated, if that makes sense, right? It kind of feels timeless in that way. Elizabeth Shue's pretty good as a love interest. Her and how they have to use her to explain point karate to the audience.
Fake Jenny.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
How was your week?
I watched a lot of movies this week actually. I've been on a bit of a spree. I watched a movie that turned out to be really mediocre, sadly. That Anna Kendrick movie, Women of the Hour.
Oh, I liked it.
I thought it was so bland. The killer had no menace. And I'll say this, because it's based on a true story, right?
Yes.
When the text at the end, this is not a spoiler, because every true story does this. The text at the end comes up saying, here's what really happened, or here's what the fallout was, or whatever. When that text came up at the end of that movie saying, hey, this is what this guy did over his killing career and all that, the movie I just watched didn't even scratch the feeling that I should have felt based on how horrific this guy's real crimes were. This movie should have felt like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and it felt like a Netflix bland-ass movie. Also, the killer was terrible. The actor playing the killer was garbage.
Yeah, he's the weakest part of that. But from the female perspective, I thought that Kendrick directed the hell out of those scenes. Because when you say he had no menace, I don't know. The scenes where he's with the women, and, you know, especially there's a scene in a parking lot, I thought that was directed very, very well.
That scene's probably the best scene, but at that point, the killer was so deflated for me that I didn't even get much out of that. I actively think it was a bad movie. I think it failed in every level it was trying to hit. I appreciated that it was trying to tie in, like, the story of what happened with actually, like, weaving in the theme of, like, what a woman's everyday life is like, actually having to put up with, because a lot of, like, Anna Kendrick's characters, like, putting up with misogyny when she's trying to be an actress, and that's constantly coming up. Trying to link that in thematically, I thought was a nice idea. I thought every single scene with the killer was shit, and made the movie not work. I thought the structure didn't work. I thought it was bad. It was a bad movie.
It was. I'll agree with the structure not working, but I didn't have nearly as many problems. I thought it was a fine first effort for Anna Kendrick.
I think the tone just wasn't there. It needed to feel worse. It needed to feel darker. It needed to feel imposing. It was lacking. So I watched that. I watched Looney Tunes Back in Action to cross off a Joe Dante.
Do I need to see that? It's one of the few Joe Dantes I haven't seen.
I wouldn't say need. It's one of his weaker movies. It's like, it's perfectly watchable, but the story is just kind of whatever. And I think
it is the movie that took Brendan Fraser from us for a while because he hurt himself doing a stunt. And that's what led to some of him being gone from Hollywood for a while. So I stayed away from it almost out of spite.
Well, the movie bombing probably had more to do with that than
yes, that didn't help, you know.
But the villain kind of sucks. Like, I even realized it was Steve Martin because he's doing such a wacky performance with this weird haircut that I just didn't even get it was him. But he was too cartoony, and I get that it's a movie with cartoons in it. It's Acme and the Looney Tunes, but
there's a fine line.
There's a line, and I think he went over a line.
It's just crazy because, you know, Joe Dante loves Looney Tunes, and you go back and watch his Twilight Zone movie segment, and you can tell that. So it's just very weird that he's given the Looney Tunes and he puts in a not so good effort. It's fine. It's okay. It's perfectly watchable, but the story's not going to really do anything or make you remember any of it. And honestly, it's kind of like a little guilty of being a little too, hey, here's a reference to something. Now, admittedly, some of the references to things are so obscure that I don't know who would get them other than me. Like, at one point they go into, and so mild spoilers, I guess, but at one point they're in like a secret lab where people have been like containing aliens, and obviously Marvin the Martian's in like a cell because he's the Looney Tunes alien. But there's some other ones, and like Robbie the Robot's there from Forbidden Planet. But the one that got me is that Robot Monster from Robot Monster, which is a movie from the 50s. It's terrible. That was on Mystery Science Theater 3000, but it's basically like a gorilla suit with like an astronaut helmet on, and that's a reference to this obscure bad movie. So I appreciate how deep cut it went, but it's still just a lot of references, just kind of there for reference sake. So it almost feels like it's almost worse today because I'm so sick of movies being full of just, hey, remember this. That was on the cutting edge though, back in, when was that, 03?
03, yes.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, and that makes sense for Dante because he is like a B movie nerd, you know. So of course he'd want to throw the Robot Monster in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that if the plot just felt like it came together, but it just, you know, I need a little bit more weight to it. I know it sounds silly in a movie with Looney Tunes in it, but
no, but you can still get that. I mean,
yeah.
You know. When I went to the gym this week, they have a cardio theater and they're playing Space Jam 2, and I couldn't make sense of what was going on, you know. So
metaverse or something.
Yes, I walked by and it was on. So there'll be a TV on the outside of the cardio gym, so you can see what part of the movie it's on. Like I've gone in there to watch Back to the Future when it's been on, you know, on the treadmill and whatnot. But yeah, I'm just looking at the screen and it's just unintelligible, with no sound dialogue and stuff. I'm like, is that LeBron? And then I see Bugs Bunny. I was like, oh, this is Space Jam 2.
Hey,
okay.
I will say this, though. Looney Tunes Back in Action actually has a Michael Jordan cameo, and Space Jam 2 does not.
Yes.
Well,
I like that.
Space Jam 2 has a Michael Jordan cameo, but not the right Michael Jordan.
Is there a B in that, Michael?
There's a
Jordan's
B. The bit. There's a. I mean, no one cares about spoilers for Space Jam 2.
Yes.
There's a bit in the middle of the game towards the end where like, oh my god, we're getting our asses kicked. We need help. And I don't know who it is. Maybe Bugs or someone says, "Oh, I've got just the thing. I've got Michael Jordan." And like, really? And then walks Michael B. Jordan, and everyone's disappointed.
Like, that's a good joke, though.
Honestly, it's the best joke in the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, it had nothing else going for it.
That does feel Looney Tunes, though. You know what I mean? The bait and switch. That is good. I'm never gonna watch Space Jam 2 though, so it doesn't matter.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Why did you watch it? Did you lose a bet? Was this a stream thing?
It was it was when it came out. It was on stream.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because it was one of those ones that went straight to Max or whatever, because it was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if you're picking between Space Jam 2 and Looney Tunes Back in Action, watch Back in Action. But it's not like a great choice, all things considered. I did Thanksgiving for streams finally. Okay. It's probably Eli Roth's best movie that I've seen, but that's not saying much.
It isn't saying much, but it's very. I can't wait to watch it again this week.
It's got decent kills, I'll say that, but it falls into the Scream bullshit whodunit nonsense that I just think's kind of lame and.
Yeah, I didn't need it to be a whodunit, but I appreciated everything that built up to it. You know. Yeah,
the characters are just kind of weak, and that's what holds it back from being like an actual good slasher movie. But
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. But yeah, again, I'm eager to watch it again this week.
Yeah, well, you're clearly easy to please, as we've discovered.
I mean, when it comes to certain things, but I went in with low expectations because it's Eli Roth, right? Like, out of all of those fake trailers that came from Grindhouse, that was the one that I think, like, I don't want to see that movie.
Yeah, but you like Abigail, and what's funny about it, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Abigail's become a punchline on streams, because whenever something's doing something that's kind of like Abigail, but is clearly better than it, we're like, oh, this is way better than Abigail. An example is we were doing a commentary track for Cabin in the Woods, and when they're seeing all the different kind of horror things, I won't spoil too much here, but when they're seeing all the different horror things, there's like a ballet girl who turns around and has like teeth in her face, like all over her face.
The Sugar Plum Fairy.
And me and Tim looked at each other and went, that 10 seconds was more imposing than Abigail ever was in that shitty movie. You
know what? I will appreciate my friendship with Tim, because when I saw him when I went out to LA for my birthday, we talked about Abigail. And he didn't, you know, give me hate for liking it. He just went, you know, I'm glad you liked it.
What a soft touch. I need to whip him into shape. This is not on.
You leave Tim be, all right? He goes, you know what? You know, I will give you the what's his name? The big guy that played Blob, Kevin Durand. He goes, you know what? Kevin Durand was kind of entertaining. So, you know,
he searched for a positive. Bless him.
He did, and that's why I loved him.
Anyway,
better than Abigail's a t-shirt, guys. You need to get on that. get your merchandising up, because Screams After Midnight better than Abigail.
Well, I think what's funny for me for Abigail is it's not the worst thing ever, but it's so thoroughly like a mediocre, like 5 out of 10, that better than Abigail is saying something. It's like, oh, it's better than Abigail. It's better than mid.
Yeah. Yes.
So. There we go. Because no one cares.
What else did you watch real quick, Pete?
What else did I watch? I rewatched Lost in Translation. That's still pretty good. I watched The Station Agent for the first time. That was pretty solid. Little sort of indie comedy drama with Peter Dinklage.
Is that the one with Dinklage and Gary Oldman? Is he in that one?
No. Are you thinking of Tiptoes?
I think I'm thinking of Tiptoes.
The legendary bad Tiptoes? That's what you're thinking of?
Yes. Could be. They take up the same space in my head.
No. Bobby Cannavale's in it, and Michelle Williams is in it.
I like Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, that's actually much younger than I've seen him in anything else, because I'm used to him from like Mr. Robot and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, rewatched Die Hard 2 for the collector's cut, and that's pretty much it. But yeah.
Yeah, you did watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, busy week. I was getting a lot of movies in. Mostly for projects of one or another, but I always like a good excuse to watch some movies, so not mad. But yeah, okay. All right. Anyway, the ComiXology Top 10, or at least it used to be called that, is now the Kindle rankings as of right now on the Kindle Comics Store, with the companies that only do manga filtered out, because I don't care where they are. If I'm perfectly honest with you.
As I like to say, what's manga? We don't know.
What's manga? Better than Abigail. Well, I don't know about that. Probably.
This will become a thing now. It's gonna. You've just made it into my head. It's like a virus. But it's gonna be something when I think something's really good. That's the only way it's better than Abigail, because I really liked Abigail.
So bland. It's like,
yeah.
This is like, I say this actually quite liking vanilla as a flavor, right? But it's like someone who says their favorite flavor is vanilla. Like Abigail. Like, what's that? What?
Are we talking French vanilla? Are we talking old-fashioned vanilla? What kind of vanilla are we talking about? Because there's different levels here.
I don't know what different levels of vanilla are. What are you talking about?
Well, as someone that says that you like vanilla, you should know which kind you like. Vanilla bean, old-fashioned, French vanilla. There's differences. Pete.
What are you even talking about? Are you talking about coffee?
No, like ice cream. There's different flavors of vanilla when it comes to ice cream.
I've never heard of any other vanilla other than just vanilla.
Hit Pete up, please, and let him know the different kinds of vanilla that you like.
For the record, when I say I like vanilla, though, I'm not really talking about ice cream. It's more so much if I'm getting a milkshake, I like a vanilla milkshake. I don't like to mess it up with like this strong chocolate or strawberry flavor. That said, though, if you've got Oreo cookies there, I will take them.
Well, no, that's a cookies and cream. That's completely different.
Yeah. But the base ice cream should be vanilla, so you can really get the taste of the extra thing.
When you came out to the States, you went to In-N-Out, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Did you get a vanilla shake?
No, I just got a Coke or whatever from there.
Okay. Because I needed to know how you felt, because I would argue that their vanilla is their best flavor. So
I was right off the plane when I went to In-N-Out. I wasn't in the mood for a big fatty milkshake.
Yeah. So I was going to say, because I like to get a chocolate vanilla shake because their chocolate is way too intense.
Yeah, I don't like an intense flavor in the milkshake. Just a dash of something with the regular vanilla.
Gotcha.
Will do.
So I was like, he's gonna tell me he did get a vanilla shake, and this is gonna check out now. But you didn't. You just got a soda.
Well, but hazelnut wouldn't go amiss if you get like a hazelnut flavor in there. That can go nicely.
Yeah. So again, I could list 4 kinds of vanilla right now. All right?
I think that says more about how much junk food you consume than it does about me.
True, but you know how often I go to the gym? I gotta,
You can't outrun a bad diet.
You can't, but you can outlift it.
No, you can.
Yes, you can. Pete, mass moves mass, all right?
Okay, first of all, why are you not looking like an athletic swimmer right now? That's question 1. Question 2... Question 2, I bet your cholesterol and other various elements are not in the best shape. I'm just going to say it.
You would think so, but I'm actually pretty disciplined from morning to night. It's a end of the day after I've been at the gym, I make questionable decisions. Like I haven't an In-N-Out.
Yeah, watching Abigail is sick. Yeah, I was about to swear there. How'd you go?
I haven't had Taco Bell in damn near 3 weeks. Okay,
I haven't had Taco Bell in like 3 months. Like, yes. Do we want a round of applause?
Yeah, but that's like my brand. People know that I love Taco Bell. Like, all right, you love David Lynch, I love Taco Bell. That's what people know about us.
Is that comparable?
Yes, they are. They're both acquired tastes, Pete.
One is physically... Well, I enjoy Taco Bell. One is definitely physically not good for you. I don't think consuming David Lynch movies is negative upon one's health.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ.
Okay, well, I don't know where this conversation went.
We're fine. Let's talk about let's the Kindle rankings.
Yes. Okay.
I gotta watch wrestling later. All right, wear my Statlander shirt.
I didn't even know. It's now you've pointed it out, though. I see the name. Very good. All right, yes. Kindle rankings as of right now. Matt, what's your guess for number 1?
I'm gonna go with Marvel. I'm gonna guess Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, that's boring because that's the right answer. That's
yeah.
There you go. Number 2 is also Marvel because it's Exceptional X-Men.
Oh, that's not in the first 2 rows here on League of Comic Geeks. There it is. Came in at number 9 on League of Comic Geeks.
It looks like Kitty and Emma Frost are about to go. And Kitty Pryde is wearing a very Sub-Zero looking version of her outfit on that cover.
Yeah, it looks like her old Excalibur costume from back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Well, it's like Sub-Zero took off his mask and it's Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 3 is Wonder Woman. Number 4 is Storm. Number 5 is Phoenix. Marvel fairly dominating this top 5. Number 6, Batman and Robin Year One. Number 7, Action Comics. Number 8 is Wolverine. Number 9 is The Question, All Along the Watchtower, which is actually a little bit higher for that than I would have assumed. And then number 10 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cross Naruto. I had to look hard to see what that was.
I mean, it makes sense. They're both ninjas.
No comment. No comment. Looking for all the DC books, World's Finest is 11, Jenny Sparks is 13, Titans is 14, Allwinter's down at about 18. So, yeah. If anything, what surprises me is that Full Moon's down at like 23. I thought that just having Batman the title plus a werewolf would have at least pushed that up close to the top 10, but fair enough.
Yeah, maybe people are gonna either pick it up physically, right, or they're gonna wait for the trade.
It's possible. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if like the digital physical split veers more physical for these sort of prestigious black label type books, or if this just isn't selling as well as some of them.
Well, I do know my shop, by the time I got there on Wednesday, my shop only had 2 full moons, so maybe they're just not ordering a lot physically too. But yeah.
Well, that's just a knock-on effect. If people aren't buying it, then they're not ordering a lot of them. So
right.
So yeah, fair enough. There you go. That's the top 10. Don't recall any news popping up this week. Obviously, we had solicits last week, so all the comic news was done anyway.
Lots of talk to the Superman trailer. Should be coming any time now. Feels.
Oh no, they announced specifically. I think is it Mufasa?
Yes,
that's what it's going to be attached to. Because I didn't know there was going to be a Mufasa movie until I saw a Superman trailer attached to Mufasa movie, and I went, "Oh, Disney milking that teat as you always do."
As they do.
It's really quite sad. Just how much everything's, I don't know, just constantly part of an IP. And that's true across the board, but Disney's especially.
Disney's been especially bad lately because just like all their live action remakes, like there's pictures of The Rock and people are mad that he's wearing a bodysuit to play Maui, when it's like, guys, he's not that actual jacked in real life, right? Like, of course he has to wear a bodysuit. Also, all the tattoos. It's just that's normal. But yeah, and it's like, can we just stop adapting live action? Just let things be. Do something new.
I mean, they keep making money, and the How to Train Your Dragon teaser did come out this week, and again, it's something that does not need to be done, but it is the original director at least, and I will admit, when the main theme played, I did feel something, because it's a good score.
I didn't watch it, but I did see that they got what's his name back as dad. I'm trying to like Jared Butler.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Actually, from the trailer, it looks like it's going to be shot for shot as well.
Well, I did see the director talk about that he said if he's going to do it, he's not going to do shot for shot. There's going to be a little bit more themes thrown in there that are for more live action. And I would imagine some of that stuff in live action would be different than animation. But yeah. Cool. Live action stuff. I did watch another thing that I forgot to mention until now. Is I watched Inside Out 2 finally.
All right.
And and I mean we can say it's an IP, it's a sequel, it's whatever. But the idea of updating with Riley every couple years, the main girl, right? I think it's actually kind of smart. Like if you're gonna do sequels that way, because you're getting a new take on different emotions and this, that, the other. And it was very engaging, very emotional. Which shocker, right? It's Inside Out. But yeah, it's a pretty decent hockey movie as well. So, that's the crux of her stuff. So, more of that, Disney, please. More stuff like Inside Out 2. Less like Mufasa, the Lion King prequel.
That said, they could probably kill it on some sequels as well, because no one's clamoring for Toy Story 5, which they're apparently going ahead with.
Apparently, evil Buzz Lightyear's finally a thing. Even though we've had evil Buzz Lightyears in numerous projects. Oh, jeez.
Oh well. All right, comics. So
yes.
So talk about comics now that we've gotten all depressed about the state of the movie industry. Action Comics 1076. Mark Waid writing with Clayton Henry and Michael Shelfer on the art. So this is the issue that brings Superman back out from Krypton. Which ends up being quite easy once he's got his bracelets charged up. I don't know if they explained exactly how he is able to just go back, so I just kind of went with it. But
so I think the rip was still there, right? But if that was the case, Did he just need to charge his bracelets?
Yes, and not a crack, but not dark sides.
Not Darkseid's crack. It was more of a rip than a crack. You know, it's Ether's rip.
It's a rip, a crack.
Should we just call it Ether's crack?
Ether's crack. I feel like the only difference between a rip and a crack is the type of material that is breaking apart. Because if it's a fabric, it's a rip. If it's a hard thing, it's a crack.
Yeah,
and when you're talking about the fabric of reality, I suppose the word fabric's in there. However, when Darkseid's crack was a thing, it was the same type of thing. It was a portal kind of opening.
But it wasn't just in reality. It was the entire multiverse.
Yeah, but that's still much closer to what this is than an actual...
True. I mean, you're right. I'm just looking for counterpoints at this point. Because this is the first of these issues that I didn't really enjoy. Like, it was fine, but it felt like a filler kind of issue where we're, Clark's still on Krypton. He has to figure out how to get to there. Well, I actually enjoyed the Connor and Keenan side of things a little bit more than I have.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's weird calling this one a filler to me because while you may not...
Filler's not the right word.
Because while you may not enjoy the directions it takes and how it progresses, I think effectively, because it does wrap up and it's like Clark finally leaving and going home and like he gets away from here, it doesn't... That instantly makes it not fillery to me. But I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, the issue's kind of just Superman... kind of pisses off Zor-El because Zor-El doesn't believe that in Jor-El's theories about Krypton, which I didn't think was a bad idea. The idea that his own brother dislikes or...
well, I like that, and it's the pride and the ego because he knows about the climate. He knows about this. That's his realm that his brother's trying to step on. So I almost get it from that point of view. But yeah, again, filler wasn't the right word. I just threw it out there because I'm trying to say it just felt like this is like we always say it's like a middle chapter. Like, not much happens and the story still moves forward. It just felt like it had to be here at this point. But yeah, and it felt a little bit easy for Clark once he got his bracelets back. It felt like, he just went back to the place that he came from, and we're back in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, a bit easier, because I mean, I liked him rummaging through all the stuff, like, in the science locker and looking for the device that'll help charge his bracelets that he's learned about from Zor-El. And he gets caught in the outside, and I think maybe they could have made it clear. And Mark Waid can be guilty of this, of just doing stuff that's superpowery without really bothering to explain it or feel like he has to explain it. And basically this idea that he's held at gunpoint, but the leader of the council or whatever on his way out, and Superman tries to talk him down and say, hey, you need to listen to Jor-El, blah, 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 blah. And he gets shot in the back, and it destroys the device that he got to help charge his bracelets. And I immediately went, oh shit, he's back to square one. What happens now? How's he going to charge them now and get back? And then he just says in narration, that was enough. Like 30 seconds in the sun was enough, and now I can fly back. And I'm like, oh okay, all right, fair enough. I guess it's just over.
Like, but this entire device though was filtering red sun into yellow sun, and it did it that quickly. That was one of those things too that, I was like, oh, okay, we're just moving on now. Don't think about it.
I didn't need to have much more. I think all it needed to do was for Superman to sort of have his narration say, oh, I need to stall until this thing is charged, and maybe even give us like a little box with a loading bar in the corner of some of the panels just to say, hey, he's stalling to charge, and as soon as this hits like 50%, that's enough, he can take off. And give us like a scene or two of him actively trying to stay outside just long enough to get the thing charged. But because it just never mentions it, and it feels like it happens immediately almost, that it gets destroyed, it feels like, oh, that was really quick and easy, but fair enough.
Yeah, but I will say the page with him leaving Krypton, and it goes down and you see he's getting emotional about it. I thought that was pretty effective.
Yeah, he's got tears in his eyes as he's flying away. And then when he flies through the portal, it seems like the Phantom Zone is destroying itself, and that's your cliffhanger for the main story. I can't say I really felt much for the Connor and Keenan story, just because it was mostly just a joke. It was just
it was a welcome addition from the stuff that I was reading. Them and the Coons, it's some pretty fun chemistry at play here, and the fact that they're calling Keenan a cheater because he's using his superpowers. Right. While Connor is off panel battling, to essentially take command of the Kun ship. I just thought it was pretty fun and not effective, but it was just a nice change of pace in that story.
It was just too fluffy for me. I mean, just to explain what's actually happening here is that Connor goes off to fight this battle, but we don't see that. Instead, we see Keenan, and the guards say, hey, we have to keep him, like, he's not allowed to go watch the fight, and he's like, what are you talking about? My friend's about to go and fight this, like, gladiatorial thing to try and save all these people and all this stuff. I should be there for it. And they immediately say that he's cheating by going. So they try and, like, throw him into a death pit, and Keenan has to fight his way out of it. And just when he thinks that he's going to have to somehow try and help get to Connor, this subplot sort of ends for now here, with Connor showing up already wearing the big kind of like fur coat.
Cloak.
Being like, oh, I am now the super Kund of this species.
He's going to be the Over Admiral, but then Connor's like, it's a better name if we call it the Super Over Admiral. So when he shows up, he's like, it's Super Over Admiral Connor Kent, and he commands you to let that man go. Yeah, and he didn't kill the other guy. He just kind of like, he just won the fight and sort of put him in an air bubble or whatever, something. But it's mostly just the joke is that Keen wants to try and get there because he thinks he needs his help, and then Connor shows up having already won, which is fine. The funny thing is, though, is the tone of this story made it feel like I was expecting a scene where Connor realized he was in over his head and actually got the shit kicked out of him a little bit. So playing it off as like, no, he was actually just a badass and went and won without us even needing to see it. This is a case where I felt like I needed to see it to see how he like outsmarted him and how he used his powers to get out of the jam. So it felt like it felt like a case of they wanted to do the badass thing where the character just goes off panel and is like, it's like it's like a Batman thing almost, where you just have like like an elevator show up with a bunch of people lying knocked out, and it's like, I don't need to see that because it's Batman. I know he can do that. But the conflict they set up here, I kind of felt like, I need to see how Connor actually maybe struggles a little bit and then ultimately wins, or maybe even does something funny to win or whatever. But instead they do the thing where, it happens off panel, and the joke is, oh no, I won, lol. Cena wins, lol. Yeah. That's what this was. Yeah. So, I feel nothing. Okay, that's fine. It was a nice welcome from the stuff I was reading on Krypton. So
I prefer the Krypton stuff, if I'm honest, but I mean, whatever. We could move on to the backup. Backup wise, if basically just Karen the robot talking about who the prisoner is. Okay, they've killed 150 something worlds. Do we know that for sure? Is there proof? The robot says, well, I guess all the dead planets that are floating around are maybe proof. But basically the one main thing that happens here is that the prisoner comes, they go to see the prisoner, and there's like a moment where we see kind of a flashback to the prisoner floating in space with debris around them. But ultimately the big thing is that the prisoner flees to the cockpit of the ship. Kara has to tackle them and looks right into the visor, right into the mask that's making an image, and sees her own reflection in the glass. And basically it seems like the prisoner shares a memory with Kara through the visor, like she's hypnotized by it. Because you get this sort of like thing where it's like a page split in half, with like the prisoner in one half, with the reflection of Kara in the visor, and then the other half's Kara herself. And then we see a vision of like a planet exploding, but we see what looks like multiple people wearing the same outfit as the prisoner, struggling, and that's when the planet explodes. So I would assume that the actual person responsible for the planet exploding might be this other one that's wearing the same outfit.
Yeah. Because the marks on the hands are different, right? And that's how we kind of tell them apart, right? And because I feel like we've seen one of these before. I think the one that's more like an arrow, because then it looks like the other one looks like it's
it's like arrow in negative space.
Yeah.
Because we see, if you go just 2 pages back, you can see it on the prisoner's hand.
Yes. Is that where I saw it? Yes, it's the negative space one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you turn the page and you get that explosion, right? So it feels like maybe they have survivor's guilt. Maybe they're not, responsible for this. Maybe they feel like they should have been able to help. But we get another split page at the end with Kara crying, and I feel like for the first time what the prisoner's face looks like.
Yeah, it's like the visors like went translucent, and we can see through it and see their face, and they're actually communicating to Kara before it's too late, kill me. So they clearly feel guilty about what's happened, but I suspect that this conflict with another of their own kind is what actually led to this disaster. And like you said, like the symbols on the hands kind of fit into each other almost, because one's like negative space, because that's why I kind of jumped to correct you a little bit, because you said arrow, and I went, well, technically the one that's the arrow is the other one.
Yes.
It's the one with the negative space where the arrow fits into that we've been following. So Arrow Hand, maybe we'll see them in a forthcoming backup.
Because it seems to me like that's a little bit more, the body language seems more aggressive, and it might be like they're trying to shield that person, you know, or it looks like they're trying to stop that person, or whoever the prisoner was. So yeah, but yeah, again, that last page was very, very well done to go from the split, and it's the opposite of the one from before it. Right, so
Kara's switch sides,
switch sides on there. So yeah, just some really good visual storytelling happening in this.
Yeah, because it definitely looks like there was a struggle between these two beings, and the one that's the prisoner. Look, they were losing the fight in some way based on just that one panel of both of them.
So you think is this why Clark sent her, because she knows how to deal survivor's guilt? Right?
Possibly, yeah. That could be,
being that she remembers being on Krypton and Argo and all that stuff.
Yeah, she even questions that at one point, like why, why am I here? Also, a little touch is during the main story, they kept using the phrase groundquakes, and I realized why. It's because, well, they wouldn't call them earthquakes on Krypton. Right. So yeah, fair enough. The backups continue to be compelling. If arguably this is kind of the biggest chapter of it in a while.
Yeah,
I feel like we got a solid sort of like beat here as to what's going on, and we don't have the details yet, but certainly this the sense of emotion from this character I feel like is pretty clear now at the very least.
Yes.
So, cool. All right. What you giving Action Comics?
I'm gonna give this a straight 7.
I'm gonna go 8. I think part of that's the backup sort of pulling up a little bit. In the main story in its own, it's maybe like a 7.5. I wouldn't quite call it great. I seem to like it more than you did, though. Outside of the Connor and Keenan stuff, which I guess I should probably drag it down a little bit as well. But that's fine. I'll stick with
the backup. The backup was very strong. I really enjoyed the backup this time around.
Yeah, backup's very good
with Kara.
It's short, obviously, but solid in what it's doing. So, all right, Wonder Woman issue 15, legacy number 815. Tom King writing with Daniel Sempere on the art. Also, I just realized we have 3 Waid books this week and 2 Tom King books. It's a really not a lot of variables in the writers this week.
Nope.
But yeah, so Wonder Woman, and this was a very strong issue, really strong sense of structure. There's kind of this framing device of Wonder Woman just giving like a little sing-song and nursing young baby Lizzie, singing a song about princesses getting bumped on the head, which kind of carries over into what the rest of the issue is, which is one by one each of, well, there's more than just them, but at least to begin with, it's the Wonder Girls taking out and targeting places of wealth that the Sovereign has. So the first one, because the Sovereign's kind of describing this to Lizzie in the future. So the first one is Cassie attacking this big giant automated warship, which apparently is where the bulk of the riches that the Sovereign and his family have amassed over the
actual physical currency that they have to keep on hand, right?
Yeah, because they don't trust people to to keep it safe or anything. So it's this automated battleship in the middle of the sea.
Because the automation can't turn on you. And it won't snitch on you, and we get this real fun.
I mean, he says that. I bet there's been a few stories in DC Comics about AI turning on someone.
100%. But we just get this fun. It's Cassie in a jet taking fire.
These are just excuses almost just to have like great little like sequences for the art for like Sempere to just go wild. So in this case, it's like Cassie in a jet and like doing a flip out of the jet as the jet flies, and like there's a great 2-page spread of this battleship exploding and Cassie in the sky. It's just a gorgeous big panel.
Yeah. And the way that she has, her red really pops because it's against blue and gray for the ocean and the ship and everything. So the red on her top and then her shoes, right, her Chucks, it pops against there, and the kaboom. It feels like a Wonder Woman pose, right, when you look at her. So yeah.
I mean, it's not an accident. It absolutely is a Wonder Woman pose.
So good stuff. But yeah, so the fact that they're taking, this is kind of where we get our, Diana's hand tipped a little bit to us, the reader, of what's going on as they're attacking the Sovereign where it hurts, which is all the financial, right? because
Yeah,
he took Steve from her, right? So this is the counterattack now.
yeah, but it's not just about revenge though. This is about like actually taking him down and
Yes.
like stopping everything. The second is Yara, who goes to a bank where there's a safety deposit box with multiple banks actually. We just see one, but the idea is that she's went to like 17 banks all across America, who all have different, various like just completely ludicrously expensive jewels and things like that.
Well, he calls them like the crown jewels of America, right? Where's it the next one?
No, it's this one.
Yeah, those crown jewels of America here. And there's also it feels like here where he's talking about the United States and safeguarding those from those who are bound by the law. Yet Yara's the one Wonder Girl who's not from, right? She's not like Cassie, who's from America, or Donna that grew up there, right? She's from the Amazon. So it also feels like, she's an outsider going here. There's like this little twinge.
I mean, you say that, but look, a lot of the narration during this scene actually talks about how because the Sovereign convinced the government to make Amazons outlaws in the US during this whole crisis, it's actually meant that they have no reason to obey the general laws of the country, and that's why now they're willing to just walk into a bank and rob it. Obviously, she's not robbing everything in the bank, she's just going for that one thing in each bank, but it's this idea that if you're going to make them outlaws, then they'll act like outlaws, and all of a sudden those safeties that you put in place of like establishing what the laws are don't protect you anymore.
Right. And so, but I just thought it was very clever to make that be Yara in this instance. It was like an actual outsider, right? Not just because she's an Amazon, but she's she doesn't look like the other Wonder Girls as well. So for the Sovereign to tell this, it feels like it's a little extra knife turn to him.
Yeah. And then the third one is Donna, of course, who is retrieving the most valuable jewel, a diamond, that the Sovereign made a deal with Solemn Grundy to guard this. And as it goes on, we find out that, it's not just in a location that Grundy's guarding. I mean, Grundy gets killed all the time and gets brought back. And in fact, that's why Grundy agreed to this, is that the Sovereign and the forces they have would always make sure he comes back. They'd always make sure he'd be in the right place. If he gets locked up or something, or if he dies somewhere far away, he'll always end up back where he wants to be reborn. But the place where it's held safe is inside him. He eats it. He swallows this big diamond, and then when he shits it out, he's agreed to eat it. And I love the parenthesis in the narration here where he says, one would assume after it's been washed, but we can't be sure.
Yes. That's why I was giggling here, because that one, after the wash, one presumes but does not guarantee. It's just like, all right, that's a good one. That's a good joke.
Yeah. This is just a scene of Donna punching the crap out of Solemn Grundy and getting really mad that he keeps saying the rhyme. He's like, if you say "born on a Monday" one more time.
Well, and it just feels like that's the part he's repeating, because we know it's christened on Tuesday, did not do that, but it just seems like he's just doing the "born on a Monday" part, and so she's with each one she's delivering a little bit heavier of a blow, right? And it's just and he looks absolutely intimidating, right? The size here that Sempere gives him versus Donna, right? He feels like a mountain of a creature. So
actually, a little detail here I like about these three scenes so far of the different Wonder Girls is Cassie's was in the air, right, out in the ocean, in the sky, lots of blues.
Yeah.
Right. Yara's was in a bank, so lots of beige walls. It's the normal level of society. And then this one's underground, where it's all dark and grimy. So it's like sky, land, and underneath, whatever you want to call it. I think that's an interesting, like the idea that they had stuff hidden in each level. Is cool. And plus, it means the color schemes of each scene are also very different.
Very different, and they stand out. They're very memorable. Also, I like that they sign off each one as this is the third princess, second princess. I bumped my head. And so Donna adds here, and it's really bloody as she's holding the diamond that she cut out of Solomon Grundy. But she also mentions, I know that you can heal. So this is, she's not doing anything, below the board.
Yeah. So obviously the rhyme that Diana keeps saying started with 4. So it's like, okay, who's the 4th? Like, is it you? Like, you going to go do something yourself or what? So it ends up being So this guy, what was it? I forget what is he a lawyer or a banker? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he's a stocks and bonds annuities.
Ah,
So
okay, yeah.
he's like
Stock exchange broker
yeah,
dude. Yeah.
a broker. There you go.
Yeah.
There's the word.
So he's like going to a location, and it seems like he's here for a rendezvous with a woman that he's met online. He's all excited. You hear a voice coming from behind the door,
Uh-huh.
right? It's clearly some sort of internet hookup. And when he comes in the room, it's Cheetah. And I love the idea that Cheetah's tactic here was just to lure him in with the promise of sex and then just pounce, just attack him, and make him do what she wants. Because we find out here that basically all of the stocks and bonds and everything that they had were liquidated, and after going through various shell corporations and things like that, all made their way into charities for looking after big cats, which was just a funny little touch at the end. But yes, also
Yeah,
good.
so as he's knocking on the door, right? It's room 37. And he starts talking about she goes, I've never done this before, from that place, that forum where I show my differences. And you're like, huh? And then he hits on the word, he goes, I've been thinking of just how hirsute you are. I was like, why do I know that word? So before the reveal, I Google what hirsute means. And it means covered with hair. And I was like, oh, right. And I was like, okay, very, very clever here for King to kind of set it up before.
I
And
can't
then you turn
believe
the
you just
page.
stop reading and go and Google what a word means.
Yeah, I need to know.
But check afterwards. Like, you're ruining the flow of
okay.
the book for yourself.
No, because it still didn't. Because then I got excited because I was like, well, there's only one person that could be, right? They're talking about how different, and then hirsute, and that's kind of why he's there. And then she's ready to pounce, like that. Her pose right there. Anytime I get to see Barbara Ann, I'm excited. So
Yeah, going back to what I was saying about the locations for the three Wonder Girl scenes, this scene's very much like, this is the seedy location. Like, all the other ones are like obvious hiding. Grundy's not obvious, but like, you know what I mean. Like, this is more like, oh, we're going to use the perversions of the world and turn that against the bad guy kind of thing.
They seem to get more intimate as they go, right? Big open sky, bank, underground sewer, and then a hotel room, right? So they get a little bit closer, and
yes, and of course Cheetah enjoyed the violence a lot more than the other ones did because she's Cheetah. But yeah, so basically, the big final page is just when the build up to it is that the Sovereign saying it was that bastard Steve Trevor. Before he died, he investigated like our stuff, like all our connections, and passed that information on before he passed away. And the final page is Diana just sitting there with her baby, and the arc is called Fury. So it's like, yeah, she's kind of pissed now. You kind of upset Wonder Woman, so
you woke up the sleeping giant. Right?
Yeah, so there you go, main story. Yeah, very, very tight. Like a lot of these like main stories have been in Wonder Woman from this run. They're very well structured. They've got a point they want to make by the end, and they always build to it very eloquently.
Yeah, and I like these more formatted kind of stories that we've gotten, because it's not the first one like this that King's given us with the Wonder Girls.
I mean, even the very first issue, I think, had a very strong structure, the way it built up to Diana.
Yeah. So, and I like it that's been kind of the theme. It's very solid storytelling throughout while he's playing with some of these other elements here. Talking about how a certain percentage controls everything, and like how would you hurt them, and that's to take that away. And you hit them in the pocketbooks, and that's what Diana did here. And this was her counterattack. So yeah, and just again, Sempere's art, just every character looks fantastic, from the Wonder Girls to Grundy to Cheetah, even the regular people that they interact with. So like the people on the bank and whatnot, they're all there. They all have the right expressions. Like Sempere's just killing it.
Yeah, some of the reactions of the guy that Yara's talking to are pretty gold, actually. Like, they make the scene funnier because he's like freaking out at her.
And because she's completely nonchalant, right? She's just like, yeah, I'm here, let me in. And like the police fire at her and she deflects it like it's nothing, the bullet with her bracelet, and then she gets her lasso, which is like the bola, to knock out the cop. But she does everything almost with like this smile. Like, she never looks uncomfortable once as she's doing it. And you find out it's like the 17th time that she's done this. So yeah.
Yeah. So the backup, which is a little bit different than normal, it is still Tom King writing. It's Kerry Randolph on the art, and this is actually a POV story, which you get quite quickly. That this is the POV of Steve Trevor in the afterlife. So it is basically it's got one point to make, but it's like, you know, first scene he's with a soldier who's talking about the good old days in battle. He's not, but Steve's just clearly not interested by the time at the end of the page. Next scene, someone's serving him like the best steak that he's ever had, but he still throws down his cutlery, doesn't seem to care. And then it gets more personal. It's like he's seen his grandmother, who he's not seen since he was a young boy, because she passed away. The grandmother that presumably Lizzie's named after. You know, so that was a nice touch. And then it's like, oh, here's a scenario where you're in battle against a monster and you save the day, you win, and he still's not happy. So it all just sort of gets to like the I don't know what you call this guy. The is this like a specific like mythical figure he's talking to?
No, I don't think so. He's like the librarian of the afterlife. Yeah, I guess.
But he's basically just saying, hey, like, this is the library. You come here. There's books on everything here. There's literally a book about how to achieve peace and inner peace and whatever. But you never want that. You always just want the one. And then there's even a scene where they've given him like an attractive woman who's like all sexy and just got a towel wrapped around her, and she's like, "Hey, I'm here for your pleasure, Steve." And he literally opens the door, and because it's called Elysium, the story, and like I was like, "Oh, this is just Gladiator. It's the field where he's going to walk out into the field." And then he's with a bunch of old military buddies that he knows who died in battle, and he's still not happy. And ultimately, it's at the end of the story where it's like, "Hey, you're supposed to be happy here. You're mourning. You're supposed to be happy. This is your reward for living a good life. You have everything you could possibly want. Like, what else could you possibly desire?" And then it's just a couple of empty panels of nothing but sky, and then there's just one bubble coming from the bottom saying her, and that's the end of the story. That's it. That's the whole point was building up to him saying he can't be happy because Diana's not here with him, and that's it. It's a sweet story. It works.
Yeah, it works, and just the way that King plays with the grids, right? Because they're all, you know, two by three, right?
Yeah, 6-panel
across grids. There, 6-panel grid, and just the way that it plays all throughout, it's very consistent. And just, you know, the first image that it ends with, right, is the beach, right? So it starts with the sun coming down the horizon, and then with the sun setting, and it's almost like, to me, that was like the first time he saw her, right? As when he washed up on the beach. And then so through the end, where whoever this is that kind of resembles Diana, at the end she's sitting in the chair, you know, and says that you have paradise, what could more you desire, you know. So then striving home the Diana's from paradise and all this other stuff.
It feels like Diana but drawn as like a 20-year-old or something. Like here's like barely legal Diana, because that's clearly what you would desire as a perverted man. Yes. There you go.
But yeah, and he you know, openly, you know, he looks out to the field and sees that sun again, like looking into the, you know, the distance. But yeah, the very end where he's looking into the sky and all that, you know, and he just looks up for her, and it's just like this empty, it looks like the cosmos with some clouds, and it was really, really, it really hit, you know, how empty he is now.
Yeah, there's also a recurring motif of a circle, because you've got the sun in the first page, second page is the plate that he keeps looking at, third page, there's not one as direct in the third page, but I guess you could argue that his grand's face is a little circular. But then in the page after that, where he's fighting the monster, there's a bullseye that he's looking through, it's circular. And then the sun again when he's going out into the field, and then it's the glass of beer is the circle that he's looking down at. It's not in every page, but it's there in like almost all of them. There's something circular that he's looking at.
Yep. And then at the end, there's that emptiness, right? That lack of that circle. But yeah, it's very, very good. I was expecting a Lizzie story, which would have been a bit lighthearted and, you know, a bit different than the main story. So this one, it was kind of somber, right? A little bit emotionally affecting. So I like that King can switch up gears on the backups like that.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll just go back to Lizzie next time, if it's just like a one-off, because...
Isn't she getting her own series soon?
Don't remember.
Okay. I thought I read, or maybe that might just be reprintings of the backups again, right? But I thought I saw a Trinity Something along
it's
the
probably
lines.
just backup reprintings.
Gotcha.
Or maybe there's like a special one shot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why'd you ask me
Maybe
questions like that I'm never going to be able to answer?
I don't know. I mean, Google exists. Just like when I looked at Hirsute, you know?
Yeah, but I didn't know in advance you were going to ask it.
Okay, I'm just saying. Also, I can't wonder aloud.
I have no answers for you. Yeah, no, excellent issue. Like it was enjoyable to read, well structured. The art's phenomenal, particularly. I mean, the art in the backup's solid, but the art in the main story's phenomenal,
top notch.
It's hard to really find much fault in it. It's nice that all these different characters get something to do. It's nice that they all get to help, because even though they're not interacting with Lizzie yet, there is kind of this weird like, here's your 4 crazy aunties kind of like mentality going on. So yeah, liking all that. So plus this idea of like not even showing Diana's face until the last page. You only see the back of her head as she's holding the baby.
Yeah, and it seems like all of her focus is on Lizzie now, right? Because that's why she's singing the song. And the fact that that was the code too is this thing that she's singing to her new baby as well.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't describe it as all her focus is on Lizzie. She's clearly orchestrating everything that's going on.
Well, no, but I mean that when we do see her, right, she is focused on Lizzie. Everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, all right, what are you giving Wonder Woman?
I'm gonna say 9.
Yeah, it's hard to really argue. I'd even be tempted to nudge it higher, but I'll agree with a 9 out of 10. So there you go. That is Wonder Woman. Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue 33. Mark Waid writing with Adrián Gutiérrez on the art. So you were a little bit negative on Action. I'm going to take that torch on this one because I thought this was kind of mediocre.
Let's agree then, because I felt the same. I had to read this twice. I started reading this last night before I fell asleep. Completely spaced on everything that was going on. Started it again. Still wasn't 100% clear by the time I got to the end. It feels very rushed, and I don't know why.
It's just very messy. There's a lot of characters at play. You know, we've went back. I feel like we've went back and forth of like, you know, we had the whole cliffhanger last issue of the Justice League all been turned to diamond, right? That was the big cliffhanger.
Yep.
And it was kind of like the Justice League were already in a predicament in the previous issue. They got out of it. And now you thought you were coming at me full strength. Oh no, I've just done something even worse to you. And I complained at the time, last issue, that it kind of felt like we just ended with the same cliffhanger again. But my assumption would have been that because it was like, okay, they thought they'd got their way out of the issue, they thought they had him beat, and then he just snapped his fingers and won instantly again. I thought there'd be more fallout from it, there'd be more consequence, maybe there'd be like more of Robin and that running around without the Justice League, and it would be difficult to get them back. But it's done within like 3 pages. Like they're like the Justice League are back in the first scene of the book.
Yeah, and it's because Robin had an amulet that Dr. Fate, you know, charged up in case this sort of thing happens, because Batman always has a plan.
Yeah,
like,
it's just a MacGuffin that comes out of nowhere. It's just here's a magic device that'll just solve the problem. That I mean, maybe it was introduced last issue. I don't remember it.
I don't think it was.
But even if it was, it feels so quick and gives that cliffhanger from last issue. It just takes all the weight away from it. Like,
yeah, I never feel like Eclipso and the other guy are a threat, right? It just feels like, oh, just Justice League, Justice Society in a scramble. Oh, here they go. They'll be back. You know, and even the stuff that happens in there where Eclipso starts dispatching all of the different heroes, and you're just like, okay, well, we're getting towards, you can kind of tell when you're reading it, you're getting close to the end. And you're like, well, unless this is going to keep going, and then it resolves very quickly. And I was just like, there was a lot of those type of moments where something big happens, but it doesn't last.
Yeah, it's too much of a big cliffhanger. It's resolved very quickly the next issue, and then it's just more generic, like fighting for the most part. Like, you know, once again, Eclipso starts taking over, specifically JSA members. He starts taking over in this issue. So there's a little bit of like, you know, JSA Flash versus Justice League Flash. There's a little bit of JSA Green Lantern versus Justice League Green Lantern, so on and so on. And that's a fine idea. I just think that with how many issues this arc had, it should have been simpler, and then you could have focused on the one idea you decided to do instead of like going through all the ideas you had, and then by the time we get to the end of the arc, I feel like we just recycled through them so quick. And the bad guys just kept winning, but the Justice League just kept like being okay immediately afterwards. That everything had no weight. Everything just felt like it was easy to get through. And yeah, honestly, the arc was kind of a dud in the end. I thought it was fine to start. There is one great moment in this, though, I will say, where they fire up like a blast to the satellite, and Superman goes up to sort of basically just tank the hit. I thought that was a really nice page, like that panel of him like tanking the hit.
The art, for as messy as the storytelling is, the art is pretty good, like throughout. Every hero looks good. All the action sequences, the entire sequence with Superman and Batman that starts that, I think, is really well handled. You know, because again, this is a world's finest book. That's originally a Batman and Superman book, but when you start introducing all these other characters, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. But here, this reminds you, this sequence especially, this is still the Batman Superman book.
Yeah, it needs a bit more focus. I think this story, it needs maybe a few less characters, or you can have a lot of characters being around in the background, but it really need to like focus in and say these 2 or 3 are the main characters for this. And I guess arguably that's still Batman, Superman, and Robin who have been the main characters of the book since the start, but it didn't really feel like it was like focusing on what they were going through here. It was just constantly, this is how we solve this problem. This is how we solve this problem. This is how we fight this villain. This is how we do this. Basically, it's lacking any character development. There's like no character story in here. No. It's just action scenes. And
then they end up winning by getting the Spectre to overpower essentially Eclipso's power, because you know he's the Wrath now. And we get a fun moment where the diamond gets destroyed, and then to re-put it back in, Superman crushes, you know, the splinters of it back together to trap Eclipso once more, you know. So again, but nothing seems to have a lasting effect, and that's a problem.
It's a fluffy story that just feels like you're never going to have to remember this happened, because there's nothing of consequence that came from it, and it's not even like, oh, like a character was really tested in the course of it going on. Like, because if it had been a case of, oh, the Justice League are all frozen, so there's going to be like 2 issues of Robin having to like, you know, level up and like save them, and it's something that he almost fails to do. It could be a defining character moment for a young Robin, but but there's nothing like that though. There's no character that benefits from this story.
No, or Robin having to team up with the Justice Society, all these old guys that he doesn't know. Right?
Or that, or something. You know
what I mean?
Just something.
And you're commenting on legacy here, and this is why the heroes do what they do. But there's none of that. It's just Eclipso fight, Superman help. You know,
there's no commenting on anything in this. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, just there needs to be something. It has to be about something. And ultimately, I'm like, this wasn't about anything other than just an excuse to have all the characters doing like actiony scenes for multiple issues. You know, because I forgot who the woman was at the start, and I'm like, oh, it's the wife of this.
Of the human Amazo.
Yeah. And that's
not Amazo,
Eclipso, yes, not Amazo.
Yes.
This book just kind of ends with like, oh, bye JSA. I mean, I will say this. It says next time the Batgirl Olsen Crypto Bathound team, which is a weird combination, and I'm down for more.
Sounds like free association of words. I love that. You know?
Yeah, especially since like obviously we had the whole Robin Supergirl kind of awkward date in this issue. We've not had much Batgirl in this book, so I'm curious to see how Waid handles Batgirl.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and you have 2 gingers here, right? Olsen, Barbara.
Oh, I'm sure they'll bond. Over their like how people mock them on a day-to-day basis for their gingerness.
Yes.
Dear. Yeah. So, kind of a dud, honestly. Kind of a dud.
I'm glad I came in. I was reading this today. I was like, man, this is the first World's Finest in a while. And I'm like, and I wanted like this.
I don't know. There's been some mediocre ones. Like sometimes, like some of these stories, like the Kingdom Come Earth story was kind of like this for me as well, where it mostly devolved into just a lot of fighting. But even that had a little bit more character than this did.
Well, that did because he was paying off what's his name, Sunboy or whatever it was.
Yeah, there was at least some stuff it was resolving, even if a lot of the issues did feel like it just was big action scenes. So I will say, like, World's Finest is the thing that Mark Waid's doing at DC that I think is the least consistent, and it definitely dips a lot more than
Yeah.
Is all stuff.
Let's hope he's getting all of his worst instincts out in World's Finest versus some of the bigger things he's working on, right?
Well, I'm going to be very positive about another book that he did soon. So, it's not like he's lost his mojo here. It's just...
No, that's what I'm saying. If it takes a World's Finest 33 to give us, the other book we're going to talk about, fine. I'm making that sacrifice all the time.
Yeah. So yes, what are you giving World's Finest 13?
I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this a 5.5.
Yeah, 5 out of 10 for me. I'd love to go higher. I do, but I felt like it was just kind of a chore to get there because it felt like nothing was really happening of any value. So, yeah, there you go. Batman and Robin, Year 1, Issue 2. Mark Waid writing with Chris Samnee on art. Now, this is more like it, Mark Waid. This is the Mark Waid I want in my life. Thank you very much. This was excellent.
God, Bruce is such a dick in this one. He's such a jerk, and I love it.
I mean, this is just like the art's great, of course. Samnee's like nailing this kind of early Gotham style story.
Feels very pulp noir kind of, but with the bright colors that Robin's bringing in, and it's a Two-Face, Yeah,
it's the sort of thing where if you throw this in, like, I don't know, if you read like Year 1, then Long Halloween and Dark Victory, then this, it feels like it would spiritually feel all very in line with each other. So
for sure.
Yeah, like, so it's establishing that, Bruce has got the social services lady coming over to check up and see if Dick's in a suitable environment, and there's like some jokes at the office before she leaves. They're all like taking bets on how long it'll be till billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne just gives the kid back to get rid of him. But obviously the joke here is that it cuts from, hey, we'll have to see if he's been put in any danger. Next page, he's like dodging gunfire from Alfred.
His gunfire. There's Joker traps. They're using the giant playing card.
Yeah,
right.
Joker fish. There's like a Riddler like spring box thing. Yeah. Now, obviously, the gun's not firing real bullets or anything. This is all just training for Robin.
Bruce says that they're rubber bullets, but rubber bullets still leave marks, man. He's still firing rubber bullets at a kid.
Hey, there still has to be a punishment for getting hit. All right, like young Dick needs to learn the ropes.
He could use paintballs. Paintballs would still. You're gonna feel it.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a rubber bullet.
Those move a lot quicker, Pete, than a wrench.
Well, you've not seen me throw a wrench.
True.
Also, cue up Alfred with the wrench cannon that just launches wrenches at volatile force.
I do love this page here because it seems like it's straight chaos, right? With the odd angles that the panels are kind of taking, right? And it's cutting between Dick in doing his stuff with a smile and Bruce yelling, and then Alfred's like, "Sir, he is advancing towards us. He's just doing it his way."
Yeah. Right.
And it gives us the first like split between Batman and Robin, in that Bruce looks at this as it's deathly serious work, whereas Robin's a performer, right? He's a circus acrobat.
That's specifically what Bruce says in the middle. He yells out, "Stop performing, like get to the thing, get to the destination, the goal as quickly and efficiently as possible." But because Dick's taken a bit more of a, not a scenic route, but more of a flamboyant route, Bruce has got a problem with it. Joe, what's so crazy though is we're complaining about just messy pages of action in World's Finest, is that this is 2 pages, and you said it yourself, this looks chaotic at first glance. This 2-page layout where it's got a lot of panels. It's like 4 rows of panels, and they're not like straight boxes either. They've all got sort of angled edges and things like that. But this page tells a story from the first panel to the last panel, because you get the heat of the moment, you get the action of Dick dodging out the way, you get the anger of Bruce, you get Alfred showing concern for the boy but understanding that he's doing things his way, you get Bruce getting angrier, and then ultimately Dick succeeds but then gets angry when Bruce gets mad at him and says, "I did what you asked. Why are you mad at me?" It, like, there's a clear story that has development from the start of this page to the end of this page. I would argue there's more story in these 2 pages than there was in the entirety of World's Finest this week.
I will not disagree.
That's the shocking thing about this.
This was one of my favorite pages of the week. Like, to tip my hand a little bit towards later, just the way that the color grades too, where it starts with yellow and ends in blue, right? But in the middle there, when Bruce and Dick are yelling at each other, the background's red. which is two completely different, tones from what we were used to. And yeah, and just again, the smiles on Dick's face, the concern on Alfred's, the anger on Bruce, like you just said, there's more storytelling here than in all of World's Finest.
Yep. So yeah, sure enough, social services lady comes over, and Bruce is being kind of charming, but he's like, I take this very seriously. Alfred's like a trained medic and chef, so he's like taking care of things as well.
But he also walked that line where he's like, but he's not the only one taking care of him. I'm still I'm still doing stuff. It's not all just Mr. Pennyworth, So it's very fun to see kind of Bruce having to think on his feet still. He's almost more uncomfortable as this Bruce than as Batman, which is fun to see.
I think he's always more uncomfortable as Bruce to an extent. He's just, over his years of using it as a disguise, he's gotten good at a certain version of Bruce. But this is a Bruce that actually has to like pass a test. Like he has to actually convince this woman of something. So he has to kind of be genuine as Bruce Wayne, and I think that's what makes him uncomfortable, because he's just Bruce Wayne just being this character that he plays.
Yeah, it's a mask, and now he has to actually be real.
Yeah. And they open a door, and Dick is jumping off the chandeliers doing some circus stuff, and she's in shock. Bruce looks pissed, and Dick's just got a smile on his face. He's been a little cocky shit and saying "ta-da," and I would like to think that they'd give him a bit of leeway here, because again, and to be fair, Dick even says this in the next page. He's like, you can take the boy out of the circus, but you can't take the circus out of the boy. So it's like, hey, this is just who he is. But yes, but Bruce is like, no, don't worry, I'm furious about this too. And there's a panel where she's not looking, where Bruce holds up his fist like, you little shit, I'm going to call Batman on you later.
It is. I am so glad we have Chris Samnee drawing DC characters, because I've always loved the Samnee books over at Marvel. Right, every time that he's killed at Daredevil, I can't even think of other books that he's done, but they've been great. Here, just the emotion on Bruce's face, and then to go from that panel to the panel below it where she turns around and now he has his arm around him. Like you can just see the expression change. And it's not even a lot of lines or a lot of work on the art. What
makes it funny
Samnee's
though?
A master.
Yeah, what makes it funny though, it's not just that Bruce goes from like having his fist out and like looking really angry, because obviously he wants to like look like he's been a loving, parent in front of this woman. It's the fact that Dick's in the charade, because Dick has a face in that first panel of like, I messed up. And then in the panel where she turns around and Bruce has started smiling, he's also smiling like a big cheesy smile. And it's almost like, regardless of like, this isn't a case of, because like, this is not a case of like, oh, Bruce is a terrible parent and he's like, hey kid, you better not get me in trouble. This is like, no, you like being a part of this Batman and Robin thing, and we have to keep this charade up together. So when she turns around, they both have to put on the act and be like, loving, happy, father-son kind of do.
Isn't that right? Yeah, apparently. Like, just the sass coming from Dick, too. It's just, it's so good.
It's pitch perfect. It's pitch perfect stuff. Dick's a little bit immature still, but, kind of in a likable way. Yeah, just...
complete to sticking his tongue out at Bruce.
Like, I'll get you locked up for child endangerment, you son of shame. Don't you piss me off.
Go ahead. Yeah. Fire rubber bullets at me. All right.
All good stuff. And even I think the sort of the building of the villain stuff, I think is pretty solid here, because we teased it last issue, because I think we had the character getting off the plane at the end of last issue
from Miami.
Yeah. So it's this mob boss style character, and like his father's the old man. At least I think it's his father in the wheelchair. So he's got kind of this older advisor, but it feels very sinister. You've got the high contrast, like it's a dark room, but he's got one lamp kind of like hitting his face, so it's really high contrast. And Two-Face comes in to like try and make a deal and say, hey, I know you want something, like a certain file from the police, and I can get it for you, but in return I want to be your second in command. I want to like run the empire with you. And he doesn't give him like a straight answer. In fact, he kind of mocks him and says, hey, like, I'll consider it. Let's call it a 50-50 chance. He's kind of like poking Two-Face a little bit. Poking at
Two-Face, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I like this. I like this idea as well, that like the old man does talk initially, but once Two-Face is in the room, the old man's like sitting there being this like observer the whole time, like clearly he's taught his son here a lot about like running an empire, but he's still there kind of as this force to like, I don't know, help him make decisions and criticize things and whatever.
He feels like Uncle Junior from Breaking Bad. right?
Oh, sure,
Doesn't?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Junior.
Not Uncle Junior. That's Sopranos. Who's
Hector.
the Hector? There we go.
Hector Salamanca.
Yes. He feels like Uncle Hector, just sitting there, just observing. And like this man's done some bad things. He just has that air about him.
Yeah, I can almost hear the ding of the bell now that you've said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really imposing. So then we have Batman and Robin going to like another part of like under the city. And Batman explains that there's a whole cave system that runs under the city. That's why there's so many bats, and he's kind of converted a lot of it. He's also bought up a lot of derelict buildings in the city to use as kind of places that you can kind of jump out of. Because sometimes the Batmobile's the right choice, but it's it's loud. It kind of announces itself, and sometimes you want to like just show up somewhere so you can pop out of one of these derelict buildings from the underground system and whatnot. So we get they got tipped off that Maroni's men are going to do a heist or an arson job on a Falcone meth lab, right? If I hell, we're talking about meth lab, so it's Breaking Bad. What's happening?
Right?
But what happens here though is that the men from the Maroni crew are in their truck and they're on their way to this meth lab. And one of the guys with the flamethrower, and they spend some time talking about the Maronis and the Falcones, doing some whatever. But one of them turns around with a flamethrower, and like the other guys laugh it off and say, he's just joking, he's a loyal guy. But then he just fires the flamethrower. So when Batman and Robin get there, like they're just the inside of this van that they've been driving in is just completely set alight.
Yeah.
Most of the guys are dying or dead. And like Batman pulls them out of the wreckage, and like there's some great art here of Batman coming through the smoke and the flames. But before they get to like interrogating them, this fire started to spread, and it's like, oh shit, we have to help the civilians and like clear the buildings. And there's a really nice moment here where Robin goes off on his own to help some kids. Like, so Batman's rescued this woman, and she's like, my children are in there, my babies. And Dick goes up himself, even though Batman says not to and to wait. And Dick goes up to the kids, and I think this is the part that really stuck out to me. Is that when Dick goes up to these kids, he says, hey, don't be frightened, right? That's my job, wrap up and hold on. And he wraps up his cape on the kids, and he basically sort of like dives out of the building using a door as like a sort of safety like board. He sort of like comes down landing on top of it with the kids wrapped up in his cape, and he saves the kid, and Batman looks very like impressed and like happy. And it's this sort of thing what I liked here is that Batman's scary, and of course he'd be scary to kids. The idea that Robin was able to get these kids to like sort of cooperate with him because he's Robin, because he's young, he's colorful, he's closer in age to them, so they were able to trust him. Like there's a value in him not being big, serious, and scary. And it's kind of maybe Batman starting to learn that lesson of like, oh, there's some merit in the ways that he does things. Like him being a bit of a showman let certain people trust him or like reach out to him in a way that they would never reach out to Batman. And I think this is a little example of that, which I think is really cool.
Yes. And then he also brings up the fireproof cape, right?
Yeah.
That Bruce gave him. He goes, see, look what I did.
Yeah, really nice. So there's one guy still alive from the truck who is not going to make it. He's barely hanging on, right? Love the art here. But the guy like is like, hey, before you go, Batman says, hey, before you die, at least try and get some redemption and tell me some stuff what happened here, and I can try and make it right. And the guy says, yeah, like so-and-so just like went crazy and started burning us. But as he was burning us, his face started melting like wax. And I'm like, oh, we're doing Clayface. Right?
Something along those lines, right?
Yeah. Because the fact that he's acting out a character makes it feel like a shapeshiftery thing, and then the fact that he's melting makes me think it's Clayface. But I mean, they could swerve me with something else, but Clayface is where I went with. Because obviously, when it started with flamethrowers, I was like, Firefly or something's going to be involved with this.
Someone, but the fact that they were talking about how out of character this was for that guy, right? Because that was one of the Maroni's top guys. So the fact that he just turns a flamethrower on them, right, is that's clearly not who we think it is. So, but the wax melting, and then even the reaction on Dick's face in the final panel, he goes, "Wait, what?" So it's something new, something that he's not yet experienced. So very, very fun stuff. Also, the top of that page where we got the over the shoulder of Bruce looking at the burn victim, and then it cuts. It makes almost this grotesque kind of face with the panel beneath it too. So it's a bit disorienting. kind of like the entire scene. So
Yeah, just really nice touches. Even something as simple as that panel on the last page where the fire's there, because it's like
yeah.
showing you the face melting a little bit. Is that the edges of that panel are all kind of wavy like a flame, as opposed to the rest of the panels, which are all straight. Just nice little touches. I this was an excellent issue. I think because I think it succeeds in every level. It's well structured. It's well paced. I think it does a lot to develop the Bruce and Dick relationship, both at the home and like sort of the the mundane part of like him actually adopting him and what's that's like and going through that process, but also in the Robin training, and then here Robin like doing the stuff to help save the kids. I think it's building the mystique of the villain and how powerful and scary they are quite well. And I think the cliffhanger of like, oh hey, Clayface might be involved with this was a great little, okay, you got me. That was an exciting cliffhanger. So every element of it worked. It was there's like the only thing that would make it any more perfect if it just happened to be like a really touching, emotional, like big story beat or something. But but for the part of the story this is telling, this was a perfect execution of it.
Absolutely.
All right.
I can't add anything else to that because you hit all the points.
Yeah, I mean, I can't praise it enough, and the art's obviously gorgeous throughout. The idea of like this flamethrower going off in this confined little truck or van is like really monstrous to think about, because it's such because you're so like the flames would just be covering the entire area of it like instantly, pretty much. There's no way where for them to go. Right. So yeah. Good stuff. All right, what are you giving Batman and Robin year one?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
I gotta go 9.5, and I like I say, the only thing that I think is keeping it from the 10 is probably just that if it was a bigger dramatic point in the story to hit like that emotional punch, I think it would get there for me. But in every other way, it's pretty much perfect in execution. So I gotta go 10. Sorry, 9.5.
Yes.
Which is the point I was making there.
It's just weird that the one book this week that Waid wrote that doesn't have Superman ended up being my favorite. I just want to point that out.
It's strange, but maybe it just shows that because he's telling a simpler story here, it's better in every way. Yeah.
Well, it's also you get Samnee in there as a co-creative as well. So I wonder if he has some input in there as well. They're a very good team. So that it might just be that as well.
Yeah, possibly, but I think part of it's just that we're telling a more traditional Batman story in Gotham versus here's a million characters in World's Finest.
Since coming and doing the Lazarus Planet and Batman versus Robin, it seems like Mark Waid has something to say about the Batman-Robin relationship.
That's fair.
It's been like this undercurrent on most of the things that he's done so far. So just keep him at it, please.
Yeah. The question all along the Watchtower, issue 1, Alex Segura writing with Cian Tormey on the art. So I almost forgot to read this, Matt, because I forgot it was coming out.
Oh no!
But I did. I read it last possible second. So I did sneak it in just in time, and I'm glad I did, because it was an interesting book for sure. Obviously the premise sounded intriguing, which is Renee Montoya. The question is going to be like the sheriff of the Watchtower. And the issue does a really fun thing to start with, where she's like getting up to start her day, and the reveal, of course, in the second page is when she looks out the window, is that she's on a space station. She's on the new Watchtower. She's looking out at space and Earth, and this is this big 2-page layout of showing that off. And then the story quite quickly flashes back to like how she got the job. It recaps a couple of things in her history here recently. That she was commissioner, she got fired for Vandal Savage due to corruption and whatnot, and now she's here, and it does tell the story of how she got here. It gives you a little tease. We see her in her outfit with this fancy shotgun on her back, which we find out later is not an actual shotgun. It's like a teleportation shotgun that will take you to the Phantom Zone chamber that's in the Watchtower.
Yep.
So cool.
Her wide brim hat with the trench coat and the shotgun. It's giving Western vibes. So her being the sheriff of the Watchtower too, just peak design here.
Oh, very intentional. I will say, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of characters, right, that are supposed to be in Justice League Unlimited. But I don't know if I ever considered that it'd be enough for what feels like a city in space, because when that page after it shows you her walking out in her outfit and she's walking down the promenade, which made me smile because that's what the main part of the station is in Deep Space Nine. Like they always talk about the promenade. And it is like a city street on a space station, and you've got just tons of random DC characters like just sprinkled around. And I was like, damn, this is a lot of like people up here, and like it needs a sheriff to actually like. It's not like you would think it's all superheroes. Why would anyone be doing anything bad? But of course, the book gets into why she's here and what's going on. So obviously, Batman's the one who went to her, right? At least initially, he went to her. It flashes back a week prior, and Batman's like, hey, like, you know, like you've got a purpose, whatever. They just need your help, and she's like, wait, what? Like, you're coming to me for help? That's a bit funny. Like, and he's like, you don't have to listen to me. And Superman shows up at the window, and she's kind of starstruck because she's used to dealing with Batman. She's talked to Batman a bunch of times.
Right.
Superman's different for her. It's new.
He's still like a big deal, right? She's dealt with Batman her entire career when she was on the police force, and then as commissioner and all this other stuff. But Superman still is this larger than life character. You know, so I do like that she has like this almost hesitation as she comes out the window.
And then even more so perhaps Wonder Woman, because, you know, when we get to the station, and Wonder Woman's explaining like her duties and whatever, like there's just a little line that says, oh, it's hard not to look at her, and you're like, oh yeah, Renee's probably attracted to her because she's Wonder Woman. But she explains and Superman kind of explains this as well, but we get the idea here that they think someone is trying to breach the Watchtower, someone's trying to break into it and do something with it. They're not sure what, but that's what Renee's main goal is for this arc, is to find out who's trying to do something to the Watchtower. Obviously, by the end of the issue, it turns into a murder as well, but she's like, hey, you've got a team. So it turns out that both Blue Beetles are going to be working under Montoya as like sort of basically the techies, like the recon, you know, they're doing the surveillance and whatnot. And
kind of like Q for Bond, right? Like, it's not just gadgets and stuff though. They're the definitely technical side.
Yeah. So you've got that, and then they go to like the animal sort of like preserve part of the building, and Animal Man's there, so he's going to be working under as well, for sure. Challenges of the Unknown are kicking around as well. Which
I do like that they've explained that, knowing that there's a Challengers book coming, and it seems like these Challengers of the Unknown are like crew members on the Watchtower. Right? They're the ones that are doing the day-to-day kind of upkeep and maintenance and all this type of stuff.
I wonder if they'll have a new member before that book starts, though, because one of them's not here anymore.
Yeah. Which again, I kind of like that synergy, continuity kind of stuff at play as well.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, you've got one more person working under you, a field agent. And she's like, who's that? And then she's like, oh, no. And then the reveal is that it's Batwoman. And it's like, oh, great, her ex-girlfriend.
Yes. And just a great reveal. Her on this perch in this like jungle setting as well. Yeah, makes her just pop out.
I was going to say greenhouse, but I guess it's more of a, what you call it, something tarium.
Yeah, arbitorium. What's the right word? Oh, jeez.
I don't know. Ends in tarium anyway.
We have them all over the strip. Jeez. It'll come back to me, but yeah.
Really?
She's. So in these big lobbies of a lot of the hotels, right? They'll have these big like open spaces with living plants and whatnot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. At least the Mirage used to. The Bellagio has a conservatory. I would guess it would be like the Bellagio has one. I think Hard Rock had one. So they're kind of going away by the wayside. I don't think they want to deal with a lot of living plants. Right.
But, well, obviously, this is for the animals more than it is for the plants.
Yes.
But, yeah. So anyway, the big thing at the end of this show is an alert goes off. There's someone attacking. It's someone in some random supervillain suit, but it's not actually the villain that's in there, because the villain that's in the suit is actually locked away in a cell. Turns out it's just a robot. Once they take it down after a little bit of fighting, there's a whole thing where Fire shows up, and it turns out Fire and Ice swap powers after the last event. So she freezes this bad guy. He starts to break out, but ultimately the shotgun that Renee has to the face kind of takes care of business, and she takes off the mask and reveals it's just a robot. This is all distraction, though. That's what she basically says. And the actual end of the issue is the reveal that one of the challengers has been killed. They're lying dead. And seemingly they're lying dead in Renee Montoya's apartment.
Yes, and that's Batwoman coming through, right? That she's talking.
That's Batwoman finding the body. Yeah.
Yes, and there's the big book. But all right, so this cat, right? Does this cat look familiar to you?
I mean, not specifically. It looks kind of streaky-esque, I guess. If you.
So it looks like Ozymandias' cat from Watchmen.
Oh,
Like,
okay. You know what? I didn't even get that was big ears. I just thought that was the tail coming from the back.
Those big ear tufts. So
okay.
And so I'm looking at this book. It's called, Along the Watchtower, right?
True. And there's even a line in earlier on where someone says, when they're explaining, hey, like, we're up in the Watchtower, and I think Renee says, but who watches you? Which is kind of a reference to Watchmen.
Right. And you look at some of these characters that they're using to tell the story, right? You have Blue Beetle, who is the inspiration for Night Owl, right? You got Renee as a question, who inspired Rorschach, right? So there's all these little themes throughout that are leading to, like, it's even starting with a murder, right? In a locked room, kind of how Watchmen started.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of this.
Very interesting.
To be fair, though,
this is the I don't think this is going to be the point of the story going forward. I just think it's a fun little tag to kick the story off.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, no, I think they're going to be investigating this murder. This is a big plot beat for this.
No, I know that. I'm talking about the entire Watchmen. Like, I don't think we'll have as many as that theme going forward.
Yeah, I will say, though, other than the ears, I don't think the cat looks like the cat from Watchmen at all. Like, it is just the ears.
He was purple, right? I looked him up. His name is Bubatis.
Yeah, but doesn't he have, like, more to the face as well, if I recall correctly?
I'm pulling him up right now. No, they look relatively similar. Really? It's the big ears, cat face. He was a genetically altered lynx, or it was a genetically altered lynx. So, but yeah, I was getting big Watchmen vibes throughout, especially with the who watches us, who pays attention, and the fact that it's Renee as the question, but yeah. Very reminiscent. I can't say I saw that and I immediately thought of Ozymandias' cat.
Hold on. I'm looking at the cat now. There is more because he's got like white on the face as well. Not only is purple, there was more of a tuft to the face, which is why that's what I was thinking of when I was saying they don't look that much alike, other than the ears. I mean, I can't deny the ears. The ears are definitely there, but like, so I guess what I'm saying is that it seems like it's the same type of cat, but not the same cat.
Right.
If that makes sense. The same species, I guess, is what I'm saying. Anyway, that may not be even important. But
no, it might not be important at all. I was getting this Watchmen vibe throughout. I just wanted to mention it. I mean, see if anyone else picked up on it.
It may be a tease, though, for who's behind this.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be Manhattan, but like if you end up telling me it's like, I don't know, some offshoot of Ozymandias or something, I don't know. That's possible.
I mean, what happened at the end of that story with Ozymandias?
Well, Doomsday Clock?
Was it Doomsday Clock? Was it the where he ran back through? It's been so long, and there were so many.
Yeah, that was ages ago. Don't expect me to know that.
No, but was that the last time we saw Ozymandias? I feel like there was another
comics. I think so.
Yeah.
There was a TV show which did its own thing with those characters, and that was more recent. But I don't think I don't remember Ozymandias being a thing after that. Obviously, there was the Rorschach book, but none of those characters popped up in that. I don't think.
That was just literally Rorschach.
And it wasn't even Rorschach. It was a new character who was Rorschach. Yeah. So, no. I think even without the Watchmen teases, though, I did enjoy just the introduction to this, space station, Montoya being the main character is cool, and then the murder mystery element did give me a nice hook for the future issues. So I did enjoy this. Like I was glad I squeezed it in at the last second. So, no complaints. I mean, art's good. Sometimes the faces are a little bit angular for my taste, but it's not too bad in that sense.
No, but like, I always look at when the question's going to be a main character and the face isn't just a blank face, right? There's still some contours to it, right? I always judge it based off of that. And I think the question looks good throughout. I mean, it helps that the hat does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, no, I think the environments look really good typically in here.
Yeah.
I like that panel actually when the alarms go off just before the villain attack, where Jaime's like mask like sort of reveals his eye. I thought that was a really nice visual.
It's coming up around because he's going into battle mode. Yeah,
because his mask is off before that. You're right, and then it's in the middle of forming around his face, with all the red lights and alarms going off behind him. I thought that was a really cool visual.
For sure.
In general, it's a cool setting. Murder mystery is interesting. I assume they're not going to just assume it's Renee behind this just because it happens to be in her place. And we know it's her place because of the Alcoholics Anonymous book that they established earlier on is sitting there, but now it's covered in blood. So this happened in her place, so that I'm sure will be something that they investigate next issue. But it makes me excited, though, that Renee has a crime to investigate, so it's going to be more of an actual detective book.
Yes.
Even with all these other fancy characters kicking around. So that sounds interesting to me. You good?
Yeah, I'm reading what happened to Ozymandias, and there was a new character they introduced at the end there, who was a orphan who got a pet gifted to her by Ozymandias. Her name was Cleopatra Peck, who went by Nostalgia. So that's at the end of Doomsday Clock. So
the fact that you're telling me she got a pet cat like his at the end of that story does lead me to think that she's probably behind this.
Yes, I mean he looks more in this panel at the end of Doomsday Clock, looks much more like that one. That you're pointing out than this one does. But
that's a pull. I mean, Doomsday Clock ended in like 2017 or maybe early 2018 because it got delayed a lot, but.
Buddy, it was delayed to 2020. It was February 2020.
What?
That's what it says. Doomsday Clock 12.
Okay, well, I mean, that's still 4 years ago, but still.
Yeah, dude, it was a while. That's why.
Yeah, that book took like 2 years to like all come out, didn't it?
Let me see. I'm looking for an actual date. There's not an actual date that it got released. I'm looking, so at least not on this wiki page.
It was 2019 because it was like it would have been dated on the cover as like February, but it was out at Christmas. I remember it being like right at the end of the year.
That's correct.
Yeah, I remember.
But anyways, I really enjoyed this. I'm a fan of Renee, so I'm already a little bit biased, but the rich setting, like Pete keeps saying, like it just the Watchtower feels full of life, right? Like a city, and I feel that's the best use of Renee. Is to have her interact with a bunch of different people. And this is a kind of perfect setting. Also, the follow-up from Animal Man, where they talk about, he got hit with a brick, right? Playing off of the events of Absolute Power, when they turned on him, the crowd and whatnot. So there's almost like a darkness to Buddy here. I thought it was pretty interesting. So yeah, pretty fun book.
Yeah, the fact that it might be paying off stuff from Doomsday Clock is kind of wild because I don't expect this book is going to be like a huge seller necessarily. So interesting they're doing that with it, but I'm here for it. So yeah, go on, give it to me. So yeah, enjoyable first issue. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I agree. 8. I think if I like the art just a touch more, it'd probably bump up. But I like everything that it sets up here, so I'm in for issue 2. So very good. All right, Jenny Sparks, issue 4. Tom King writing with Jeff Spokes on the art. Now I hope everyone's seen The Big Short because that's the only reason why I can understand this issue.
Brody, I was thinking the same thing. I hate that we're lighting up this much. I was like, oh, this is the plot of The Big Short. I understand this.
That seriously, I don't know if I would understand the flashback story in this if I hadn't seen that movie. Because like all I could think once she started talking about what she was talking about.
Buddy, I lived it, so it hit a little bit close. I mean, something similar happened to my childhood home. So
fair enough. Yeah, yes. I mean, I was alive. I wasn't personally affected. At least directly by it anyway. On a sort of wider recession level, yes, but not like directly. So the flashback story in this, which is with this book, is mostly like the flashback stories have kind of been the main thing in each issue, with the present story being kind of a more sprinkle throughout. Is Jenny goes and kidnaps the head of a bank, right? It's the head of ABT, I think she says. And it's 2011. They've just killed Bin Laden, as brought up on TV, which
compromised to a permanent end.
Yes. Which again, this idea that we keep setting all these flashbacks in prominent like things in recent history, but notably all history after the start of this century, which is because what the most memorable line of this issue is by far, "I'm the 20th century and I'm not going anywhere," which I felt like okay, there's a lot of weight to that line and what that means for like the world, and the idea that all the mistakes that people made last century are still biting us constantly in the ass.
That, and they've been magnified, right?
Yeah. It's like everything can be traced back to decisions made, the greed, the capitalist greed, and the political endeavors and the wars that were waged. Everything's still ruining us today. Anyway, and that's why Jenny Sparks just can't stay dead. It's because the 20th century just can't stay dead. Anyway,
yeah, there's people keeping the 20th century alive, right?
So
the spirit of it.
Yeah, she kidnaps this guy, throws him out a window, and teleports him midair, which is a really nice page, to be fair, actually, art-wise.
And it's definitely Spokes doing, Spokes. Dark Knight Returns a bit.
A little, yeah, because of the lightning flashes as they're falling down.
And her pose there,
So, yeah, meanwhile, in the present day, Jenny goes in, or she's already in, but she goes to talk to, let's just give this, Captain Atom, and tries to get him to release a couple of hostages, and says, "Hey, what do you want? I'm here to help you," and like negotiate. In her own way, of course, she's not that nice about it because she's Jenny Sparks. But meanwhile, in the flashback, Jenny's like taking this guy to one of the houses that's been like foreclosed on, and says, "Hey, this is your house. Your bank's like foreclosed on it," and ultimately builds up to like the woman who was living here coming to the house, and they talk like they're planning on letting her kill this guy, but Jenny does seem quite shocked when she actually does just shoot him in the head. Like, oh, just like that. That's it, gone. And I think lining that up with, because you hear more commentary from the news about Bin Laden being killed at that point, and I couldn't help but feel like this idea of just killing the guy at the top of the food chain responsible for what happened doesn't just fix everything that he did.
No.
Either. So, there's definitely some of that in here.
Yeah, and when she shoots him in the shock on Jenny's face, right? It goes from this like smugness to shock, and the lady goes, "He doesn't have to know who I am. It's not that kind of thing," right? And it was like, this was a personal vendetta for her. This changes nothing. The system is still in place that led her here, And it was almost like not a Pyrrhic victory, but a very empty one.
Yeah, and a lot of the pages are just sort of setting up who this guy is, what he's done, talking about selling mortgages and loans, to make his wealth look like it's bigger, even though it's not really bigger. But then when it crashes, he gets bailed out by the politicians and doesn't actually suffer any consequences for what he's done. It's like I said, it's the plot of The Big Short, which is why I was able to follow it.
Yeah, the subprime mortgages and then the golden parachutes and the whole, manipulating the stock market, and they never felt any of the squeeze, and in fact, he made money off of it. It was the everyday people that felt it, and this is one of those everyday people. He
couldn't just ride first class like he already could. He wanted a private jet. He wanted to not have to follow the rules and everything else. So, I mean, this book's been very political and full of commentary about the last 20 plus years, but I mean, this is just continuing that trend.
And that plays in with Captain Atom, who wants them to declare him a god, right? It's not enough that he was a superhero, a military man, and a hero. It's he needs to know that he is the one true god.
That's a very good parallel between them. That's a good point. And like he doesn't want to give up anyone. He's like, "Hey, I'm a god." He gets mad at Jenny at one point. He puts on the Batman cowl because he's seemingly killed the Justice League at this point. That's what happened last issue. So they're all lying about dead.
Well, he does put it on. I thought he materialized it on.
No, he picks it up because he holds it in his hand for a bit first.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with a big grin in his face. So, and he threatens to kill her, threatens to destroy her. And she's like, "Look, you can try and kill me. I was born in 1900. I was supposed to die. I died in 1999, but I came back anyway because I'm the 20th century and I'm not going anywhere." And then he's like, "Okay, fine, you can have one. I'll let you take one, but you have to choose." And I love that the woman who's there with like her mistress is like, "Hey, take her." But she phrases it like, "Because I can't take them playing tic-tac-toe anymore. It's infuriating me, so take her." Although I like to think that she's sort of saying it that way to make it seem like it's not just like take the person I care
cover.
about.
Yep, it's her cover. And they talk about how every tic-tac-toe game has been a stalemate.
Yes.
Right? It's been a cats game that they've been playing this whole time, and there's never been a winner. And I also feel like that's King's take on a lot of these struggles, right? It's all about nothing.
Yeah, it's just a never-ending stalemate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this
Mm-hmm.
entire hostage situation also kind of feels like. It's just this big stalemate.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, she ultimately picks the doctor,
Yep.
the therapist, which, you know, because the woman arguing, right, for Erica to be the one taken, she basically gives a reason why everyone else shouldn't be picked, because like, oh, this guy already got cured of something. This guy, like, this is his bar, so the captain goes down with the ship, kind of thing. Like, she kind of tries to give like a justification for everyone else. But it's really funny though, because when Jenny picks the doctor, there's a panel of like the woman screaming no, and again, I think you almost read it as, oh, she's upset because the person she cares about isn't picked, but then immediately Captain Atom starts laughing as the game of tic-tac-toe continues, and it plays like a comedy beat of like she's screaming no because, oh no, I have to suffer this stupid game for even longer.
And he's a genuine sicko. He's like, yes, we're gonna keep playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. So no, it's it's good because Jenny's the one that brings up Bin Laden to the woman who just killed the guy. And then the end of the issue is like Jenny getting down and praying, which is something that Captain Atom had asked her to do earlier, and she's basically said piss off. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's her, you know, the context of it too, you know, he says to her, is it all a game to you? And she says, no, never. And then she gets down and prays to him, right? Oh, Holy Lord, my captain, I pray to thee for grace and forgiveness. And if
surrounded by dead Justice League members, may I add.
Yes. So it is like, no, she is playing the game, right? This is what she's going to do, what she has to do to get him out of here, to get them out of there.
Yeah, I feel like the phrasing "she is playing the game" though is a poor choice of words, given that you just said it's not a game too.
yes. But again, Jenny defies that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting book. I definitely like this issue more thinking about it and talking about it than perhaps I did when I was reading it.
I don't want to say there was a slog to read, but there was a lot of repeated stuff, right? A lot of, like, there's that one page that's just her and Adam facing off against each other, and the words are changing, but it's the same static panel, right? So there's a lot of that kind of repetition going on, you know?
Well, yeah, which is fine from a pacing like perspective on the page. It just kind of felt like I don't think the debate between Jenny and Captain Atom was that exciting in the scenes itself. And the flashback story was solid for what it was, but it maybe did over-explain what the Big Short explained already, which is just, this is what you did, this is how you did it, this was the different steps to it.
Right, but if you're a person that doesn't, you know, you haven't seen The Big Short, or you're completely oblivious, right? Because you're reading this being born after that had happened, right? Like there are people that are reading this that.
Oh yeah, not me.
No, but I'm just saying.
I was 19 in 2008, Matt. What are you talking about?
Yes, Pete, I know. But my point is, I do think it's a pretty good, like, King distills it pretty well for people that might not know.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the scary, I mean, I don't know how many, like, 14, 15-year-olds or less are reading Jenny Sparks from DC Comics. Like, how many kids that age are even reading comics at this point? But, yeah, we are getting to a point where, like, you might have been 5 when that happened, and you probably weren't exactly taking it in at the time, were you? Hell, I wasn't taking it at the time. The Big Short explained it to me.
Well, and that was the thing, because and that's the point that they point out in The Big Short, that it's meant to be endlessly confusing to the average person, because you're dealing with all these different moving parts, right?
Yeah. That's part of the scam, is making it so confusing that you can't just see it for what it is.
Yes, and in fact, they, you know, The Big Short brings in Margot Robbie in a bathtub to explain, which, bad choice, because I don't pay attention to anything she said, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Of course, that's the one bit you remember from that movie.
I remember that, and I remember Christian Bale listening to his, you know, same album over and over. So, which I need to give that a rewatch. It's a heavy hitting cast. Probably need to revisit it. It's been since it came out in theaters.
I think it's an important movie for actually explaining how that all happened. I don't think it's actually that great a movie to watch for plot. I think it's like a once is enough kind of movie for me, but you know, mileage may vary. So that's anyway, yeah, so there you go, Jenny Sparks. Good issue. I definitely think this miniseries is not like, I'm not as excited about this when I read it as much as I have been with a lot of Tom King's other miniseries.
But yeah, once she brought up the 20th century and then I'm not going away, I feel like that's the thesis statement that he has for the point of this book. That
line stuck out. I did love that line of dialogue, and it felt like it was sort of saying it was hinting at what the whole mission statement for the entire book was. Was this idea of like why, like the ghost of what happened in that century just keeps haunting us, and that's kind of what Jenny's in some ways representing. So, all right, what are you giving Jenny Sparks?
I'll go 7.5.
I was thinking the exact number, 7.5. Because it's not a bad book. It's still good. I definitely just didn't fall in love with it quite as much as
Jenny Sparks 4 better than Abigail.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
There you go.
Yep, better than Abigail.
God, I'm putting that on a shirt. It's gonna be so. I'll have to explain it, but it'll be funny to me. You know.
Lots of things are better than Abigail, though. Like the can of sugar-free Monster Ultra that I just drank was better than Abigail.
Is a white one though?
Yeah, it's the white one.
Yeah, the white one's the best one.
Yeah, but it tastes better here than in America.
Why?
Because you use different crappy like artificial sweeteners. Because when I was there, I tasted it and I'm like, this tastes worse. Why does it taste worse? And it's when I got back, I checked the sweeteners. We have different artificial sweeteners. Ours tastes better.
I need to get my hands on it because the white monster is my favorite monster, and now I need to get my hands on a European one now.
Yeah, like admittedly, it may just because I'm used to one and not the other. So maybe to you it'll be the opposite. But I know it's
because I prefer actual like Coca-Cola with actual sugar that you get in Canada and Mexico than the high fructose one we have here.
Sure.
So I have no doubt that your artificial sweeteners probably taste better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. To be fair though, we're not talking about sugar here. We're talking about whatever artificial.
Yeah, artificial. But that's what I'm saying. Like there might be.
The reason why I looked it up though is because the sweetener that's used in the American one has been a subject of a lot of studies about like being high risk for some like heart disease or something, and I was like, oh no, do I have to cut down on my Monster? And then I checked, oh no, that's not an ingredient in mine. Never mind.
I'm good. Well, I get enough caffeine throughout everything between coffee and all the other energy drinks.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't drink anything else with caffeine in it, so I don't feel too guilty.
Yeah,
but,
you're not a coffee fiend like me.
No.
So.
No. All right, anyway, more comics. Dark Knights of Steel, Allwinter, issue 5, J. Kristoff writing with Tirso Cons on the art. Also better than Abigail. So this is
I like this is crossed over, and I like Abigail, but this is funny.
So this is the penultimate issue, and it does feel like a penultimate issue. It sets up this kind of the big final mission for the ending. And we have a big Deathstroke character appear and kind of help Deathstroke out at the start here, and his predicament, and it's Wintergreen, who's got a big suit of armor on. He's got
a Viking flamethrower. I love it.
So we find out, obviously these guys go way back. They've not seen each other in like 10, 15 years, whatever it's been. And he's got an underground lair. He's been digging, he's been building, and apparently he's been wanting to get to like the main city to get to Victor and try and stop all this, not by going through the horde of all the undead like monsters or whatever it is, but by going under, and that kind of ends up being the big plan. But there's some really nice stuff here though, because when they're talking about like what happened, and you see like a quick little snippet of it in color at the start. Later on you see like more of that when they have to like show Rose, because when they eventually go to Rose, they're like, hey, we're going to go and stop this and stop Victor Freeze, and here's what happened. And we get more details about what happened. We find out that Slade and Wintergreen were hired by Vandal Savage, or whatever he's called in this world.
Vander Adge, but
that's the one. They were hired to kill the Emperor, right? Which was
Max Lord.
Max Lord, thank you. But because they moved at the last second, they also killed Nora, and so they're actually responsible for Nora's death. which is what got Victor all I was going to say
Pissed
hot and
off.
bothered, but that's not quite the right term
No.
for Mr. Freeze.
It pissed him off to bring an eternal
Yes.
winter.
So yes, and that's where all this stuff kind of started. Some great stuff in the art here, though. I loved it when they're talking about Rose and that Rose has got the kid. There's a great like split panel where Rose is on one side of it and Slade's on the other, and all this is like taking place in Wintergreen's like sort of like mad science lab where he's been like constructing all this stuff. But yeah, again, you get a few little snippets of like that day where they had the sniper rifle, and like Slade slams this book shut that explains the story. Again, they're sort of teasing it really well so that when they give the book to Rose later on and we get to see it in full, it's like it's been properly built up by that point.
You say sniper rifle, but it's a crossbow.
It's a sniper crossbow.
Sniper bow.
Yes, it's pretty long. Look at it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But still, I don't want people to think there's firearms in the Viking Age.
True.
In a world where there's the Green in Caitlin Frost doing stuff and an Eternal Winter, we need to be historically accurate. Okay.
So yeah, they got so basically throughout all this though, and Wintergreen's saying, "Oh, we can get into the city, we can do that, and get to thingy," but he's like, "Oh, but it's going to take like so much power to actually stop him, and I'm not sure we could find that." And up until this point, Slade has not mentioned Alec, or he's not brought up Swamp Thing, and he just smiles and he's like, well, "Why are you smiling? It's horrifying," which is a funny line actually.
Those are a good one.
But they find Rose quite quickly. Rose is like with Killer Frost, and they've got Alec. And Wintergreen just comes slamming through the ceiling and is like, "Hey, we're going to save the world." And Rose is like, "Uncle William?" Because it turns out Wintergreen actually looked after Rose for a bit, like 15 years ago.
Yeah, when Slade, left, right?
Yeah.
He kind of raised Rose.
Yeah, at least for a bit until she went off on her own and went
on her own
and
and pledged to be the mercenary that she is.
Yeah. So yeah, sure enough, Killer Frost gets crossbowed by Slade.
Right in the throat.
Yeah, because basically before they show up, Rose is like, Killer Frost keeps asking Rose questions about, "Oh, can you not see that this weather's coming or when it's going to stop?" She's like, "No, my powers don't work like that."
It doesn't work like that. It has to be in the heat of battle. It can't be weather. It's not a premonition. It's reading people.
Yeah, it's like a few seconds from now in a conflict. It's not like these big things I can predict. But and it pays it off though, because there's a moment during the fight where Rose like says, "Get down," and that's when she gets hit in the face with the arrow right next. So she could see that coming, which is a nice little payoff to them building it up. But basically, like Rose is like, "Oh, like blah blah blah, nothing you do surprises me anymore." And he's like, "Well, this might," and he throws down his axe and he throws down the book, and like she reads what happened. She reads how this all started, and like how Freeze started, got mad at death of Nora and went ballistic and brought in the Allwinter, and she's like, "Wait, it was your fault?" Yep. And you know what? Yep, but we're going to fix it and we're going to do something. And Alec sort of comes in and says, "Yeah, you are all villains, but even villains have a chance to be heroes sometimes." So the issue ends with this call to action of like, Rose seemingly is going to be united with her father and Wintergreen to get Alec Holland into the city to Mr. Freeze to fix the Allwinter, which honestly, this story has been really good. And this is like crescendoing at just the right moment. I feel a nice big cliffhanger. I'm excited for the conclusion, and having Rose sort of like align with them, and she's not like forgiving her father. It's like, oh, we still hate each other, but we can both agree that this is the good outcome, kind of thing.
Yeah, we still don't know what happened with her brothers, right?
No.
So there's still that at play. Also, do we think here, because we see that Nora pushes Maxwell away, do we think he was using his, what we know as his DCU powers, right? The mind control kind of stuff. To win sway. And then so when he got shot, right, when it went through, that's what broke the hold. Right, and that's why she ended up getting hit.
Oh yeah, that could make sense. The idea that in that second after she gets shot, before she finally dies, she's like not under his control anymore. So, so she actually didn't love him. She was just being manipulated the whole time.
Right, and that's part of what makes Freeze lose it, because that's his beloved, and all of that. So I didn't even notice that the first time until here, because the shove away and then the shot of of this. So, but yeah, no. again, the balance of the color and the darks and the use of color here, so damn good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at that page now, and I feel like it's before the shot, and it seems like as Freeze is walking in, she's pushing him away. It's almost like she's pushing him away because Freeze is seeing her with him.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm having a hard time reading it the way you say. Even though I like what you just said, I don't know if that's how it actually plays out on that page, though.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think about that until I was looking back through it again, and then no, I got the timing wrong because I was talking as we were looking. So
but yeah, so no, I mean, I think it ends off in a nice like big like hurrah, let's go and save the day, like all of our misfit characters are coming together to save the world, and the art's been gorgeous throughout the entire book. Is no different here. The pages of the color book are showing what happened actually, you know, really stick out, feel like a different style, and they're not actually a different style line work wise, but like because the coloring is so different to the shading in the black and white parts of the book, it really, you know, it feels like, and even just the ripped page sort of art style of all the panel borders, you know, they all look like they've been ripped out of something as opposed to just, you know, regular panels.
Yes.
Really nice touch. So, no, been loving this. And then the backup, which I did remember existed this time, I'm happy to say. Yeah, so basically it's just kind of the story of like, James Gordon gives the Kents a farm to go and hide on because obviously the bad guys are going to keep coming, and Arthur reveals that he could kind of see in King Shark's head and even can kind of see in his parents' heads sometimes. But there's teases of like who this villain's going to be. He says that when he looked into King Shark's head, he saw this vision of a really bad man, and we get this one panel of like evil-looking manta just kind of floating in the water. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not ready to go off and like fight this bad guy. I'm still a child. So, but you guys are warriors, right? You guys were great warriors. Can you train me how to fight while I'm growing up? And we get like the montage of like panels of like, here's how you fight with a sword, a shield. Here's how you ride a horse. But they also point out that they can't teach him everything. Like clearly he learns how to swim on his own. Like that's just something like he naturally takes to. So this is actually the end of this story, which makes me think that the final issue will get all the page count will go to the main story for the finale, and this actually ended here, which is basically just Arthur, who's maybe about 18, saying, okay, I've got my trident, I'm going off to try and save Atlantis, I promise I will come back and see you again, parents, but I have to go do this. And it just says Arthur will return in Dark Knights of Steel in 2025, so whatever sequel we're getting next year,
seems like King has something up his sleeve, right?
Which we always thought, just because Taylor wrote this part. So it makes sense that he's setting stuff up for his own sequel.
Yes.
Did I say King or did you say King first? And
I said King originally because I just thought Tom, and we've been talking about King throughout this whole other
it's a Freudian slip that we've all had at one point or another.
But there's a part here where they talk about the Black Manta incinerating people and how underwater King Shark's like, it's very weird to see somebody burned to death underwater.
Yeah, he says it's ironic to see someone burn underwater, which is a very, like, I am curious. I hope we get to see that. Yeah. Well, it definitely feels like they're setting up Black Manta to be the big bad of Dark Knights too, if that's what we're going. You think he'll be the main big bad? I could see it.
I think so, because they've done, you know, they had Waller, right? With the Martians, right? And they ended that.
We had the Black Lightning Kingdom, we had the Amazons, and obviously the...
And I feel like there's a united front between the houses. So now what brings up, and you know, this invading force from the ocean, you know, because I can see Arthur being like this freedom fighter down in Atlantis. You know, that's also might just be the Federici art, because that was kind of the vibe when Federici was art. So, but yeah, no, this was very good as well. And DC, you just give me more Federici on something somewhere, please. I would like it. So. Plus, we're getting that new Aquaman book soon. Yes, which is cool. So we're going to get more Adams, Arthur. Right? On that one. Yeah, Jeremy Adams is doing that. So should be good. He's been kind of rising in the ranks recently. Yeah, this was a great issue. I really have very little to complain about. I think I felt it was a nice reveal to have Wintergreen show up. It feels like the last big character from Deathstroke that hadn't shown up yet. The fact that like him and Rose, well, don't like each other. She even says specifically, "Oh, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for
for wintergreen. He's like, I don't care why you do it as long as it's done. It's like, yeah, we can accept that. And like, okay, they've got their goal. We've set that up over these pages, over these issues, and it's just been a really, really focused, well-crafted story that's been extremely tight in its pacing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, and is easily my favorite thing of the Dark Knights of Steel world, I think. Like, I've liked this more than the main first story.
Yeah, it definitely feels more focused too, as well, right? Because we're just following Slade. We're not bouncing around in the different parts of the kingdom and whatnot. But
even the backup, I think I like more than the main first story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more biased because I do love Viking stuff. So the fact that we're getting Viking Deathstroke across this barren wasteland and playing with some of these Viking iconographies, right up my alley. But the story that's being told too, I think it also helps that it's a different writer, right? Than Taylor. So we can, it feels a little bit different. But yeah, it feels like Unkillables in that way, where it was such a change of pace in Deceased that it reinvigorated that interest.
Yeah, I bet you young Alex shows up in the sequel as well. Assuming he doesn't die when he re-greens the world. I expect he'll show up in the sequel as well. So
yeah,
cool. What are you giving Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter?
8.5.
I'm just going straight 9 on this. I can't really fault much of it, and backup was great too. Excited for the finale. Good stuff. Batman Full Moon issue 2. Rodney Barnes writing with Stevan Subic on the art. So yeah, more werewolf goodness, and I feel bad this being at the end because it's like I'm almost like just out of juice, and it's a long issue. But
we get, speaking of Joe Dante, we get a Howling reference in this one. That was funny.
Yeah, but it's just it's brought up multiple times even. In fact, in this issue. Which, I mean, I appreciate Alfred liking it, but I mean, honestly, there's better werewolf movies and there's better Joe Dante movies, so I can't say I'm completely on board.
I just thought that was the funny one that they went with, was that, and I just thought, we were talking about Dante earlier. I was like, wow, that was synchronicity.
Yeah, I can only assume that Barnes just happens to like the Howling, and that's why that's the one that was picked. Yeah. So this issue, it's got Langstrom, Constantine, and Alfred trying to basically like figure out what to do about Bruce being bit by a werewolf, and like we have to try and like solve that problem. And Constantine's just a jealous little bitch because Bruce is dating Zatanna, which is amusing to me. I'll admit, it's funny. But we have more of like the actual werewolf, like him being protected by this nun and the homeless people.
Yeah. Which I love that, because there's always been this track of when a werewolf story being almost like a take on addiction, right? Because it's this thing that you can't control. It spins out of control. You can get yourself together, but that monster's always there. So the fact that he's in with these, these people that are living, tough lives in this section of Gotham and whatnot, and they're helping him because he needs the help. And it kind of lines up with that take on lycanthropy and addiction. Probably some of my favorite stuff in the issue where that, the she's not a priest, right? What do they call her? Her talk with the werewolf, with Talbot, and about how no one's beyond salvation and this, that, and the other, and then how when Batman comes through and how her, or not Batman, Gordon comes through to talk to her. And it's like, you shouldn't lie. You're in a church. But she's lying to, save this person. I liked all that stuff a lot.
Yeah, she's withholding information. I think I said this last time about the art, but like I think the art when it's just people talking is just okay. It's got some weird proportions sometimes. But when it's like Batman or werewolf stuff, it looks fantastic. Like when it flashes back to when Batman got bit, that panel of the wolf biting into Batman it's gorgeous stuff.
It's straight up, like, it looks almost like it's something out of National Geographic, right? Like the way that it's hunkering down, it's splitting Batman,
or even the like in the following page where it's like Man Bat's fighting the wolf for a bit, and it's just like they're one's got like a red light on them, one's got a blue light on them, so there's just a little bit of coloring so you can distinguish between them, and they've got that kind of spotted, grainy kind of like texture on them. It just looks really good. It's a really kind of cool horror scene. It has the right kind of vibe to it. So, yeah.
also love that Zatanna approaching it from the, so they're going to try to save Bruce through a two-prong, right? They're going to try to go after his soul where the lycanthropy exists, but they're also going to use the science through Langstrom and Alfred, right? So I love that we get, to see both sides of that here. And just that page with Zatanna sitting there floating, her hair's all wild with what looks like the full moon, blowing up the whole light. That page looks really good too.
I mean, for me, it's the sort of the visual representation of her trying to pull Bruce and the wolf apart, and we see like kind of the wolf and him like all both floating in the darkness.
Yeah,
that stuff looks really good. Like that's when the art's really coming alive. Is during those bits. It doesn't work though. Zatanna says she's failed, and like that this could be bad. And we see that Talbot as well, like, has the other people chain him up in like a basement somewhere to try and contain the wolf. As Batman's scared of the wolf like coming out of him, which I do like this sort of like parallel of like Batman in some ways always has a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing to him because like Batman is his Hyde and it's always there. It's not actually my favorite interpretation of Batman just because I kind of read it differently most of the time, but I can see why you go down that path if you're doing him in a werewolf story.
Yeah, for sure. It's this part of him that he wants to. If he ever fully lets go, people are going to be in trouble, and that's very much a werewolf story, right?
Yeah.
And here, so he's going to wear the specialty suit that has like UV radiation in it to kind of mimic the sun to try to, stop the transformation.
Yeah, they said this isn't like going to last forever. It's not foolproof, but it'll slow things down and give them time to maybe try and fix the fact that he was bit. So, that's interesting. I did really like the panel of Talbot being chained up. It's just a really cool symmetrical panel of like the chains going up either side, and just really moody.
It's very moody. And then now we get towards the end they talk about how the curse he can kind of feel, like Batman can feel where Talbot is and Talbot can feel where Batman is, right? Because they share that curse.
They can sense each other in some way.
Sense each other, and then so they end up facing off after they both turned. And we've had Capwolf before in the 90s, and now we have Batwolf, and it's a good look.
Yeah. I like the build up to that. You see him breaking out of the chains, but the panel goes red as the chain breaks, which is a really nice touch in the art. So again, the Talbot werewolf has got like a red sort of like light on him, right? So he's not actually red, but it's almost just like conveniently there's a red light on him to sort of differentiate. But then of course he seems to kill or at least severely injure the nun who's been helping him, right? She comes up and tries to like talk him down. This is not who you are. She tries to reason with the werewolf, and the werewolf just slashes her in the face, and she's left lying there with blood dripping from her. Now she might still be alive technically, but
she also looks like she's missing an arm on top of it too. But yeah, he rips her arm off.
Oh, you're right. Joe, I thought that was a wound on her back, but you're right. I think that's her arm missing.
That's her arm because he's holding the arm in what looks like his mouth, and the arm's dangling the cross that she was holding still.
You're right.
Yeah. Ooh, he did severe damage. I didn't notice that till right now.
That's very good. Yeah. And Batman's like in the Batmobile trying not to transform, and the art here is really good because again, it's got that kind of speckled sort of shadowy darkness like in the art style, and then you see the fur start to like pop out of all the different parts of the suit. And then the full page spread, the next page, is the Batmobile completely surrounded by bright light from all the lights that it has, and he like busts out the top in wolf form, where it's basically just a werewolf with a little bit of a bat symbol on his chest, and you can see like a bit of the cowl falling off of his head. But it's a money shot. It's a money shot page.
It's so good. Just the way that the light's bending around him, right? So it's all white around him, and then as it gets further away, the other colors start to come in.
Yeah,
so it really puts like a spotlight on Batwolf.
Yeah, and a little touch is that his cowl's like sitting in the foreground and the top of the last page, and then as they start to square off, just again to make it clear which one's which, Batman's cape is still and it's ripped and stuff, but it's kind of stayed on, and there's a little bit of his gauntlet still on as well, so you can actually still tell which one's Batman, which is good. So it just they haven't actually started fighting yet. The cliffhanger is just them howling at each other.
If they're gonna be like my dogs, they're gonna sniff each other for about 2 or 3 minutes before anything pops off. So but yeah, man, I love werewolf stuff so much. And so the fact that we're getting Batman as a werewolf too, Like it's again, it's so much fun. And again, like you said, Constantine brings this little bit of a pissy edge to it as well. You know, he's upset that Zatanna's dating Batman, and he's not that great. And you know, if he was that great, how come he can't solve this without me? Type of vibe. So it's doing some fun character work as well.
Pish, she's dating Bruce Wayne. Him and Langstrom, I don't think know that he's Batman.
That's true. It's Bruce Wayne, not so much. Yeah.
Because Alfred had to spin a story about how he was driving Bruce near the area and the wolf attacked him. There's a whole thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. It's a good horror story. Yeah. I enjoyed the build to the ending. The increased page count goes in nice and quick.
Yeah. Is this 3 or 4 issues?
I want to say it's 4. I think it's 4.
Okay.
But I'm
going to say I don't want a rushed ending here. So, and also silver bullets have not been brought up yet. So we'll get there. I mean, they've been brought up, but
I was going to say they haven't, because that's when the Howling reference happens. He says, "Hey, get a silver bullet and shoot me, Alfred," because that's what happened in the Howling.
Yes, and then Alfred also has some of this, like, I'm not going to do that. But as we know, there's only one way to kill a werewolf. So, you know,
you say that the rules are different in every single werewolf story.
That is a Monster Squad reference. Okay. Yes.
Fair enough.
So, yes.
I've only seen it the once. It didn't leave much of an impression.
Oh no, it's Goonies with Universal monsters in it. Come on.
I mean, it's better than Abigail, but it's. Yeah.
Here I will agree. I love Monster Squad.
All right, what are you giving Batman Full Moon?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think a lot of the art's great. Some of it doesn't work as well for me. And it's ultimately just a fun, pulpy horror story with Batman in it and good werewolf art. So I can't go above that, but I think an 8's completely fair. So I will say that too. All right, the final book. Every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make me read a book of your choosing at one of the higher tiers. And today I'll be talking about Batman and the Outsiders issue 19. So the cliffhanger to the last issue was the girl, whose name I can't remember, but the Geoforce had previously been kind of dating before he kind of got with Halo. She attempted suicide because her teacher came on to her and said, "You're not getting your scholarship recommendation if you don't if you don't do the deed." So super dark subplot in that last issue, whilst all the Egypt stuff was going on. But this is a Christmas issue. And it starts with Halo busting into Wayne Manor saying, "Batman, where are you? Where are you? You got to stop him. Something bad's going to happen." So it gives you a little sort of tease of like tension before it explains what's actually going on. So, yeah, weird start to this actually. So I like this issue quite a bit. But there is a weird start to it where they kind of wrap up the whole Halo and Geoforce romance, right? Very quickly. She shows up at his place for Christmas. And she's excited to see him. He's excited to see her. And he's like, "Hey, there's something I've got to give you." And he pulls out a little present that's, you know, a little jewelry box size. And she like has a thought bubble with an engagement ring in it and says, "Uh-oh," like in her head. And then like, "Hey, there's something, we have to talk about something, Geoforce." And he's like, "Really? Oh yeah, I guess we do." And then they both say at the same time, "I don't love you." And then they're both really happy and go, "You don't?" And it turns out they've both kind of realized that they didn't want to be in a relationship. And I'm like, which is fine. That's not the part I'm even... I mean, it's a little bit cheesy the way they reveal it, whatever. But the part that got me, though, was the explanation of why they had feelings, which they didn't really need to do. But I'm just going to quote it. I'm just going to say what he says. "I thought I loved you." This is Geoforce speaking to Halo. "I thought I loved you until I realized my affection for you was directed at my sister Tara, the love I never gave when she lived."
That's not the same kind of love, my guy.
That's my thought. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. I'm like, now I don't think he means that he wanted to romantically love his sister. I don't think that's what they're getting at.
Platonic love of my brother is different than of my wife.
But very, just worded weirdly. I think this might just be something that wouldn't have stuck out as much when it came out in the 80s. Like maybe saying that wouldn't have been such a side eye kind of line.
"I can't love you because you remind me too much of my sister." That's what it feels like he's saying.
Well, no, I'd argue that's not what he's saying. That
Yeah.
I realized that all the sexual energy I have for you was actually me wanting to bang my sister, so I realized that it's nothing to do with you at all.
Right. Oh, God. It's even worse when you say it like that.
Oh dear. And then she says, "Oh, and I was, trying to find my parents and stuff." And she's like, "That's actually perfect, Geoforce, because I've never had a brother. I'd love a big brother." And then he's like, "I'll be delighted to fill that position, little sister. Here's your present." And I'm like, "You've kissed already, and now you're saying little sister." I don't know. The whole thing was just a little bit weird in how it was written. I think it's just of a different time in the way that...
Maybe. It's definitely grimy.
Yeah. And it turns out he bought her like a necklace that's like a little halo at the end, so it's whatever, right? Wasn't an engagement ring, that's fine. So it continues the ongoing kind of like drama of like Katana missing Halo because Halo calls her and gets the answering machine, but Katana's listening to it and she's clearly upset and like feeling conflicted about seeing Halo. We'll come back to that in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then Geoforce gets a call from the girl who tried to commit suicide. She's on the bathroom.
Denise.
Yeah, Denise, there you go. How do you know?
Because I have it up on a wiki of the issues, so I can follow along.
Yes, so Denise calls him from the bathroom floor and admits that she's taken a bunch of sleeping and that she needs help. And he says he'll be right there. He suits up, he goes off, and Halo follows and sees he carries her out to the ambulance and they take her to the hospital, and it's not clear if she'll survive or not. Right, she's got a chance, but it could go either way. And it turns out that before he handed her off to the ambulance, she explained why she did this. So he knows that he was confronted by this teacher, and Geoforce says, "I'm going to kill him," and he flies off. So that's why Halo's flown over to Batman, because Geoforce is going to murder a man. Well, he's an awful man. He's going to murder him. We have to stop this. And Batman's like, "Oh, geez, Geoforce is really powerful. He's not mature enough to wield that power." And Halo's like, "So none of us can stop him. What are we going to do?" And he's like, "No, there is someone who can stop him." And he flips a switch in the Batcave. We cut to the Daily Planet. And
Jimmy Olsen, he's going to stop him.
No. So it's basically just like a beeping noise that only Superman can hear, obviously. And Superman flies off, and we get a great panel of him flying in the snow. Because keep in mind, it is Christmas time. The fact that it's Christmas doesn't really factor into the plot too much, other than the present swapping earlier. But it does give us some nice snow visuals and whatnot for various stuff. So Halo meets up with Superman in the sky, and she's all starstruck. In fact, there's a moment where he says, "Follow me, we'll go find this Geoforce." And Halo says, "Yes, sir," but then she's got a thought bubble that says, "Anywhere, sigh." So I think Halo's all flustered by Superman. Meanwhile, Katana and Black Lightning stop a guy who's trying to mug a Santa Claus who's collecting money for a children's charity. So that's a thing. And basically Katana's pissed because she's like, "You said there was an entire gang trying to kill someone. This was just one mugger. You could have taken care of this." And it's all just a reason for Black Lightning to be like, "Hey, why are you upset? Why aren't you talking to Halo?" And Katana basically just says that, she should be with her parents, and I can't be that far. And Black Lightning's like, "That's fine, but you don't have to cut yourself out of her life. You can still be a friend." And it's like, "No, that'll hurt too much in the long run. The blade must sever as swift, and cut be a clean cut." So that's continuing. Also, Halo still doesn't really think that it's her parents. She's starting to doubt that was brought up as well. Anyway, so what do you think this teacher's doing over the winter break right now?
Well, it's not something that happened in the holdovers. He ain't hanging out. Maybe it is, but it's like a dark version of the holdovers where he's just harassing other students.
Well, he's at a cabin in the woods somewhere, and there is a young woman here. They never actually say specifically, I think, if this is another student, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he's because he's got a creepy line here where he's like, "Oh, that snowstorm's getting bad. We might be trapped here together for days. Wouldn't that be awful?" Which I mean, that's not a creepy line on its own. Like if someone said that to their partner, like, "Oh, that's a shame. You're going to be trapped out here together for like that's fine." But knowing what this guy does and who he is,
he's a pervert.
It's skeevy. So Geoforce bursts into the building, says he's going to kill him. The guy tries to pull out a gun. Geoforce crushes it, but then Superman flies in and sort of makes him stand down. And, you know, we get the fight. You know, Superman, like, tries to talk him down, and Geoforce keeps saying, no, he must be punished for what he's done. He must be killed. And Superman keeps calling him son. I'm like, all right, Clark, all right. It's a bit condescending, but, you know, I get it. But yeah, it's a whole fight thing. Geoforce basically tries to level the playing field a little bit by increasing the gravity around him so that Superman doesn't have the same flight or strength that he normally does, because it's like, hey, I'm going to create the gravity that's like Krypton's around me kind of thing. I was like, okay, that's kind of inventive. I like that from a writing point of view. But yeah, there's like, you know, flying into mountains and it's a big fight kind of going on. We actually cut away from that briefly just to check in with Metamorpho and Sapphire, who are just out buying Christmas presents. And the only notable thing in this scene is that Metamorpho's like, hey, we should get your dad something. And she's like, he tried to kill you, Rex. We're not buying him a Christmas present. And he's like, no, he's your dad. You've only got one dad. You'll be dead eventually. Go on, get him a Christmas present. And she's like, really? You'd forgive him after all he's done? And he's like, it's Christmas, and they kiss in the snow. It's just like a one scene to just catch up with how happy Rex is right now.
I love that Metamorpho's like, he tried to kill me, but it's Christmas. It's the spirit.
Oh dear. So yes, back to the Geoforce Superman fight, where Superman basically does the super clap to cause an avalanche to take down Geoforce, which kind of knocks him out. So that's all done. And when he takes him back to the cabin, Superman, like, immediately the bad guy comes up and says, oh, that man's ruined this cabin. I'm going to sue. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And Superman's like, look, your cabin's been destroyed. I'll help rebuild it, since that was obviously not right or whatever. But his accusations of what you've done are very serious. So, like, there's going to be consequences. It's going to be taken care of. And the big thing here is that Geoforce, even when Superman was trying to talk him down, said, like, yeah, but like, even if she reports it, it's just her word against his. And we know how that goes, which felt just as relevant in, you know, 2024 as it would have done back then. If anything, it's actually quite a big deal that they were even just saying that in a comic book in 1984 or 85, whenever this was. So basically, when they're confronting the bad guy here, Batman shows up with a file, and he's basically went and done some like detective work, and he's had 7 other victims all sign to say that they'll make a statement saying what he's done to them, because this is repeat behavior. And I thought, holy shit, this is just like, this is a Me Too issue decades before that happened. Like this is like, of course there's previous victims, of course this guy's just teacher Harvey Weinstein. So it's like, okay, that's it. Geoforce is kind of sad, but he's happy that, you know, he thinks this is a good, you know, resolution, but he's sad about everything that's happened. And Superman's like, yeah, that kid, he'll be good once he's got some experience, but Batman's like, yeah, if he lives that long. So Batman's not being as optimistic. But anyway, so yeah, the issue ends with Geoforce going to Denison Hospital. She has survived. He tells her it's Christmas, and she's like, she realized after she took the pills that she did want to live. Like, you know, regardless of anything else, she doesn't want to die. And it just kind of ends with that. But Superman and Halo are flying outside the window at the end. There is an epilogue though, a one-page epilogue, which actually establishes what's the word I'm looking for? Develops some of Halo's stuff that's going on. So we got, like, you know, the Halo, the Truth About Halo Part 1 like 3 issues ago, and then we spun off into the Metamorpho stuff. We had this Christmas issue. We're getting Part 2 next time. And the ending here teases kind of what went on. So if you remember, there was a scene a couple issues ago where the sister of the guy who died, you know, the person that Halo was with when she was Violet, the sister of that guy, like, confronted her in the school and said, you got my brother killed, I blame you, blah, 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 blah. the epilogue here is that sister calling Tobias Whale and saying, hey, my brother, like a friend of my brother's, like stole something from you and she's back in town. And Tobias Whale says, wait, you mean Violet Harper? I thought she'd already been taken care of for what she did before. And you're telling me she's alive? Well, I'm thankful you've let me know. So he's going to be coming for more revenge. And I guess we're going to find out if Halo actually was Violet or if she just took her body or something afterwards, which is what I think has happened. I don't think this is really her parents and this was really her life beforehand, would be my guess. But I'm glad we're getting back to that, though, because I was getting all excited about revealing all that. And it's very naturally done it in a way, though, where it's like, oh, it's pivoted into some other things and it's came back to it. But it's just really weird they called it part 1 when they had no intention of doing part 2 until another 2-parter and then this Christmas issue happened. But to be fair, there's a lot of serialized elements, there's a lot of character relationships that are developing throughout. It was nice to get a little bit more of Katana's relationship with Halo sort of being tested and how she's like feeling weird about it. I think there'll be a nice big payoff when we get Halo's story play out soon with Katana, which will be cool. But, I appreciated that it did a good, proper follow-up to that dark story that it introduced with that teacher, because it felt like, oh, you've introduced like a really dark thing here, which I did not expect the comic book to go that dark. And the fact that it's something that I felt like was like tiptoed around for a long time after this is all the more impressive. So for all the guff I gave it for that awkward dialogue between Halo and Geoforce about, my love for my sister got transported onto you and that's why I was attracted to you. That so weird. Aged very weirdly and is very strange. But other things this issue did have actually aged shockingly well, and almost too well in the sense that it shouldn't still be as relevant as it was, but it sadly still is. So, anywho, very good. I mean, 8.5 probably if I'm putting a number on it, and I usually do. So, there you go. Looking forward to the next issue. So. That'll take us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favourite panel/moment of the week, favourite cover, favourite art, and of course, top 5 books. So, Matt, what is your panel/moment of the week?
Okay, so I have it narrowed down. When you're talking about Outsiders, I was thinking about this. And I'm a big fan of the cheetah reveal in Wonder Woman. That's all. I mean, Wonder Woman's full of a bunch of them. But I gotta say, that 2-page spread of Batman training Robin in Batman and Robin Year 1, that has to be mine. So that's a story within a story. That could almost been like a 2-page story, So that's mine.
Sure. Matt's cat's
whinging. She's probably hungry because it's afternoon. But yeah, I
feel like there was a lot of good splash pages this week. Between Wonder Woman with like Cassie and the ship, the cheetah reveal, like you said. There's that great one in the Full Moon book.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff. Even Question, when it showed you the Watchtower for the first time, felt like a big deal. Or the Batwoman reveal page. That's
a good one too.
All good stuff. Hard to fault a bunch of them. I think if I'm picking just one moment, though, I think I have to go with the rush of excitement at the end of Year 1, of Batman and Robin Year 1. The Clayface kind of tease at the end of that. But it's tough. There's a lot of good stuff this week, so it's hard to nail it down. Cover of the week, what you got?
All right, so there's a couple I want to bring up. There is Wonder Woman, who was this? A David Talaski cardstock fairy. It's just got her in the invisible jet, surrounded by like doves. A blue background. It looks really good. There is for Action Comics, who was this? A.L. Kaplan variant that's got Superman again on a blue sky, but it's playing with the negative space of the suit, so it's making up the blue. Let's see. Batman Full Moon has a Francavilla cover, which we're just gonna. I always like to bring that up.
Of
And then the
course.
question, there's a Fornes, which probably not Fornes's best work, but I like what it's doing with the shape of Renee, kind of as the sheriff, right? She's got the wide brim hat and the trench coat, walking down this corridor that looks very sci-fi. However, my pick is going to be from Allwinter, and it is the Marcial Toledano Vargas cardstock cover. It's got Deathstroke with an axe, and it's got this weird color thing that's going on. That's kind of like the whole vibe of the series. So he's in black and white until you get up to like his beard and the axe, and there's like this almost broken spectrum of a rainbow coming around. It looks great. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I'll mention that Fornes one from Watchtower again, because I think the one thing you didn't mention about it is that it's looking at her from behind as she's walking down this very hexagon style like hallway, right? Right.
Uh-huh.
I think it's kind of inspired by a specific moment in 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Okay.
when they're walking down a sort of hexagon shaped place in the spacesuit. So I think that's kind of what it's going for there. So I like that.
Yeah, I like the him smashing the kind of Western with the sci-fi out there as well.
Yeah, because she looks out of a Western, but the location is sci-fi. I also like that Francavilla Full Moon cover, but my pick is going to be the main Full Moon cover. It's just a really simple Batman, black and white, werewolf behind him. Simplicity sometimes is what works for me, so I'll go with that. All right, art of the week, Matt.
This one's tough. This one's really tough because Samnee, right? Then you got Sempere for Wonder Woman. Allwinter, Tirso cons, always good. You have Federici on the backup. But a lot of the stuff that they did in Wonder Woman, I'm going to give it there because the way that they're telling the story. You brought up all the different levels of the backgrounds and whatnot, and the color shifts. That's it for me.
Yeah, shout out to Allwinter because the art and the main story is great. Federici in the backup is phenomenal. Samnee for, actually, I'm gonna go Samnee. Like I was gonna go Sempere, and I think I like he will win a lot of the weeks that he's doing Wonder Woman. I think I have to just give the edge to Samnee for Batman and Robin Year One, but it's very, very close. So, but yeah, phenomenal art this week to pick from. All right, top 5 books, Matt.
All right, number 1, Wonder Woman. Number 2, Batman and Robin Year One. Number 3, Allwinter. Number 4, I'm trying to remember what I gave stuff. We'll do number 4. We'll do Full Moon, and 5, the question.
That may be the exact same. I'll find out as I go.
Lighting up.
But number 1's Wonder Woman. Number 2 is Batman and Robin Year One. 3 is Allwinter. Yeah, I'm trying to think what that was called there. 3's Allwinter. 4 Full Moon.
Oh, don't you do it.
5. I mean, the only other thing I'm not picking World's Finest. I can tell you that. If I's probably Jenny Sparks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over question?
Oh, I forgot about question. Okay, now you're right. Yeah. All 5, the exact same. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, weird week. We lined up identically, pretty much. Only difference is I liked action more than you did, but you we both didn't really like World's Finest that much.
Yeah.
So, all right, there you go. That's that. I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. We have Detective Comics 1091. We have Nightwing 120. We have Absolute Wonder Woman issue 2. We have Superman 20. We have Action Comics 1077. We have Justice League Unlimited issue 1. So big new number 1 to kick things off next week as well. We have Green Arrow 18, The Flash 15, Batman The Last Halloween issue 3, Harley Quinn 45, Batman Brave and the Bold 19, Power Girl 15. We have Black Canary Best of the Best issue 1, so that's that new Tom King book. So we'll see how that fares. Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns issue 1. So our Christmas miniseries kicks off next week. There's Multiverses Collision Detected Sex, Batman Justice Runs in the Family, or Wayne Family Adventures, DC Connect, and then we got reprints and facsimiles. But yeah, so
if I rated them all, I have 10 books next week.
It's a heavy week.
However, I have time off because it's Thanksgiving. So, I have to balance work. I'll have more time to read.
I have 9. Yeah, I assume you're reading Power Girl. That's your 10th.
If I have to, if I run out of time, that'll be the casualty. But I ain't missing the Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns. Like work Black Canary. Oh
yeah, I'm definitely reading Black Canary.
Yeah, sure. So
I mean, I'm not going to, but if anything was get dropped, the thing I like the least out of all that is probably Superman right now.
Yeah,
because Williamson.
Yeah.
Anyway, busy week again. So yeah, lots of fun stuff to look forward to. Let us know what you thought of this week's books. Of course, thank you for joining us. You can rate the podcast on your iTunes or Apple Podcast app. It was 5 stars. Like us on YouTube, wherever you're enjoying the show. And of course, you can support all of it by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us over there for however much you would like per month. You get the show a little bit early, but it helps keep things going and ensures we can keep doing it. So thank you very much. That is the show, though. So thank you once again for joining. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.